Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Zach and I are doing a tier list for the Twilight Imperium 4th addiction. It is an addiction to play it. 4th edition. And this is something a little bit different because normally my rankings have been, least favorite to most favorite. And that's kind of going to be the case here. Obviously, where we rank them, if they're an S tier, we think highly of them. But the reason why we're doing it this way instead of the other way is because I personally haven't played every single faction. I'm pretty sure I've seen every faction played.
Yeah.
But this is just kind of a little bit more fair, where we kind of think, based off our combined TI experience, it's like, okay, well, this is probably going to be in C tier or something like that.
Right.
But other than, and so if we did it the other way, then we'd have to play every single one of them and be like, just to definitively say, oh, hey, this is my least favorite faction.
Right.
And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Should be a lot of fun. And let's go ahead and get started. So Zach here has played TI way more than I have, like way more, because I've only ever played it. I've only ever played it in person. So that is a little bit harder to do.
Yeah. And I play a lot online as well.
Yeah.
As in person. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to be relying on him quite a bit just to tell me who some of these are. And let's go ahead and just start with the leftmost over here. Who is that?
So that one's Arborek, the plant people.
Yeah. I'm going to butcher these.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh, I was close. So the Arborek, these are ones that I have seen played, but they're, I'm just trying to get a good picture. So their main ability is mitosis. Your space docks cannot produce infantry at the start of the status phase. Place 1 infantry from your reinforcements on any planet that you control. All right, what are we thinking?
So for me, I think they're a C. They're massively fun to play, but realistically, they are a little bit too slow, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. So what's their flagship? After you activate the system, you may produce up to 5 units in this system.
Which is not bad. The problem is that means you can't move the flagship and then build. You have to basically be there and then produce.
That's true.
That's true. It's a great homeworld defender. Because it is. I mean, it's mid range, so it's rolling on 7s instead of 5s.
Yeah.
But its capacity is 5, and kind of the idea is you are building up somewhere, whether that's right before you're going to hit Megatorrex the next turn, defending your home world, defending a key world.
Because their theme is meant to, because just to pop up kind of everywhere. So theoretically, couldn't the Duha Menaimon, their flagship? I mean, you could move it, and then if you get the warfare. Yeah, if you get warfare, you can pop it and then produce. To kind of rapidly maybe kind of at least get them somewhere.
Right.
But yeah,
and that's kind of how they work. Is they kind of like they take a world, they build more infantry on it, and then they just kind of keep this wave going. But that initial, because everybody's poor in the very beginning, that initial wave takes a little bit of time. But they're kind of like, the traditional avalanche snowball type idea. Once they get going, they kind of are hard to stop at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, because just for the sheer amount of being able to pop up a infantry means you're going to be able to, because like taking planets is relatively hard.
Right.
Like unless you have bombardment or something, it's like, which I mean, to be fair, it's not hard to get. Like dreadnoughts just inherently have it, but that means the dreadnought also has to survive. Like most of the time you have to be able to, and so they can kind of protect their planets because it's like, oh, okay, well now I have my 1 infantry here on this planet way across the map. Now I'm going to build a space dock, and now I'm going to
who's their factory, right? So their infantry
Yeah.
are their factory. So you take a world and then you immediately build on that world,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
awesome.
While also giving you resources and political votes.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
Like I could see them as a B tier. I don't think they're quite A because
Okay.
I do agree with you. I think that all of that is if people are letting you.
Right.
You know, you're popping up an infantry and then someone could just swing by with their dreadnought and just shoot down and kill it. I think C for me would be a little low. It's just because I think these guys are super cool. I'd probably put them at B.
They are.
Like
That's
maybe
fine. I mean,
mid
I'm good with a
mid
B
B.
with that. Because I will say they are, in my opinion, one of the funnest factions to play with.
Yeah.
I like their abilities, but in competitive play, they're just a little slow.
I can see that. Yeah, that is true. All right, next one. These guys.
That is Argent Flight.
Okay. Ugh. Argent Flight. Oh man.
Yep, new ones.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
So cool. I mean, so good. So good.
All right, so they have. I gotta pull them up. This is the most recent faction that I actually played with. So.
Okay.
They have Zeal. You always vote first during the agenda phase. When you cast at least one vote, cast one additional vote for each player in the game, including you. That's already just disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, you play a relatively full player game, like 6 to 8, and you already have more political.
Right. You have 7 extra votes. Or
Exactly.
you have 6 votes with one by spending 1 vote. It's
Exactly.
pretty hardcore.
Exactly. And then raid formation, when one or more of your units use anti-fighter barrage for each hit produced in excess of your opponent's fighters, choose one of your opponent's ships that has sustained damage to become damaged.
Right.
Like, because normally in TI, if people aren't familiar, the defender or the person taking the damage gets to assign it out.
Yeah.
Normally. But raid formation is like, hey, we actually used anti-fighter barrage, so I get to choose your War Sun or choose your Dreadnought to just take this damage instead.
Right.
Oh man, I don't know. Other players cannot use space cannons against your ships in the system. That's their Quetzalcoatl.
Right.
And
they have Strikewing Alpha, which is amazing because it gives the cheapest ship in the game basically a capacity 1.
That's true.
So now, beginning of the game, because I think you start with like 2 destroyers, you got basically 2 ships that move 2 spaces that can carry infantry and take a world. It's like, what on earth?
Yeah, that's true. It's like, okay, busted much?
Right. Because if you have $3, if you produce 2 destroyers and 2 infantry, and they can go and take worlds.
Yeah, and just the sheer setup, it just allows you, because no one's near you at the beginning, so you just get free worlds just from the get-go.
You go for the richest worlds as fast as you can, and then you clean up everything in between, because again, you don't necessarily need to go, like most factions always work, from their home world out. You really don't need to. You can go to the far out ones and then work back in.
Well, I also think, because if you're playing with the expansion, I think you start with one of your mechs.
Yeah, I can't remember if they start with a mech or not. I know some factions do.
Yeah. Either way, I remember building a mech or having one from the get-go, and last time I played them, I just got to Argent Rex like that.
Right.
It was like super easy, and then just held it there because they're disgusting.
Right. They're fun to play.
Like, I would. I mean, well, because we were talking about raid formation, so they're disgusting in battle, and then it's also just a sheer amount of votes that you have. You sway negotiation.
And their armies are cheap. You're going to build all your destroyers, because Strikewing Alpha 2 is significantly better.
Yeah.
It destroys infantry also as you do hits. So realistically, they are great. They can get, I think, War Suns on turn 2 because they start with like a red-yellow tech already. And so you just need another red tech and a red skip, and you have War Suns.
That's true. I mean, you have to get its upgrade technology.
Yep.
be able to do that, but even then, like, I can't remember specifically, and we're not really going to talk about the expansion, like the people that you get, just because that would just make this video 4 times as long.
That's a different video.
Yeah, that would be a whole other another video. But I don't know. Are we thinking S? Are we
I'm
thinking
thinking S.
Argent Flight's S tier? They might be, like,
I think they're S tier.
Yeah, I would
They're
agree.
pretty well rounded.
Yeah, I mean, the only negative I can think of is that because of the sheer amount of votes you get, like, people are actively, forming up against you. Like, they're all allying.
They're either going to form up against you, but they're going to get that one person who is like, oh, let's be buddy, man.
Yeah.
Let's just go for it.
Yeah. The only
fight or die.
The only faction I can think of that competes against them in politics is probably the Turtle faction.
Yeah, because they have, with the expansion, they eventually double their votes. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's put the Argent Flight up in S tier. So looking pretty good. All right, this one.
Ghost of Creos.
Yeah. I was like, who are they? That icon, Ghost of Creos.
Yeah, I think
it'll pull up. Oh man, I'm so close.
So close.
Okay. So the Ghost of Creos, this one was an expansion for 3rd edition.
I believe so.
Yeah. So they have 3 abilities. These guys are wild. Quantum entanglement. You treat all systems that contain either an alpha or beta wormhole as adjacent to each other. Game effects cannot prevent you from using this ability. So that's just this. First of all, theme alone, like, these guys are S tier. They're so cool. And I don't think there's a single faction besides maybe like the human faction where I'm like, their design sucks. Like, that Fantasy Flight kills it on the art.
Yeah.
All right. So then we got Slipstream. During your tactical actions, apply +1 to the move value of each of your ships that starts its movement in your home system or in a system that contains either an alpha or beta wormhole.
Right.
So yeah, they're just super fast. And then Creos Gate. When you create the game board, place the Creos Gate tile where your home system would normally be placed. The Creos Gate system is not a home system. Then place your home system in your play area. So they basically have, like, they're off the board.
Right.
Like, people have to actively go through a wormhole to get to your home system.
Right.
I don't know. I have seen this one played, and I saw it played poorly.
And that's where I see the weakness in this one is, if you are not really good at holding back, they have such ability to move that you go so far everywhere that you're just too weak. You don't have borders that can basically buffer each other.
Right.
And so, they're definitely they're 100% A class. Just movement alone. And they can do such wild things at the end of the game because there are more wormholes now, and because they can now treat all A's and B's, you have 4 quadrants on the map that basically all touch each other for them alone.
True. Yeah. That's true.
And their flagship is pretty cool. It becomes a wormhole as well. So you can, get stuff from your homeworld to the flagship and then move again, because it's just one continuous movement.
It looks like their flagship changed last time I saw them. This ship system contains a delta wormhole during movement. This ship may move before or after your other ships.
Right.
In the version that I saw them, which must have been 3rd edition, I believe their flagship was like a wormhole that they could move to.
So that's what the wording at the end is so you can move, like, everything from your home system to the system with the flagship as a continuous of movement. So let's say you put one space away from your flagship. Well, you have dreadnoughts that move too. They can move to the flagship and then move as a group.
I got
Because they all count as one move action.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's why it's worded that way. It's just kind of a weird wording, but that's why.
Interesting. Yeah. So they're so disgusting just because you mentioned the movement, and that allows people to, if you build like an armada,
yeah,
and then you're just like, by the way, you're adjacent to everything that I can touch.
Right.
So, like, any type of, hazardous terrain isn't a problem. Those people that are, like, the people that you are buddying with that are in my way, they're not in my way.
Yeah, nobody's in the way of ghosts. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's hard to pin ghosts down, which is what they are. They're a movement faction.
Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting because it's like, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. So if people just move out and then they're like, wait a minute, I'm spread too thin and I'm not taking any planets because I'm super weak.
Right, or you can't stop a fight because you have 2 ships in every system and someone brings in 3 dreadnoughts. I'm sorry, you're just not going to be able to stop that.
Right. Yeah. So I would agree with you. I would say these guys are definite A tier. Theme, they're here.
Oh yeah, theme, they're there 100%.
But yeah, like,
so to me, theme, them and the plants are probably the top 2 theme factions in the game.
That's true. Yeah, I really like the plants as well, kind of as a theme.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because it's like they sound pretty straightforward. We don't have a whole lot to mention with them, but they're so difficult to use.
Yeah. I've just seen a lot of new players just get burned by, oh, I have so much freedom. Yes, but just because you have that much freedom doesn't mean you should use it all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's like, how about you warp a massive army? Like, how about you warp your war sons through these wormholes?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So the Ghosts of Creos has an A tier. Okay.
Yep.
Purple dudes.
That one is Imperium.
Thank you.
It's EPY, I think.
I'll figure it out. Okay. Oh, okay.
There you go. Oh, EMP.
Oh, Empyrean.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. God, these guys look cool too. I love, man, that nebula or whatever that is back there. That's so okay. I am actually completely at a loss on these guys. I have not seen them played or played them. Interesting. Okay. So they have Voidborn. Nebulae do not affect your ship's movement. Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yep.
Aether Passage. After a player activates a system, you may allow that player to move their ships through systems that contain your ships.
Yep.
And then Dark Whispers. During setup, take the additional Empyrean faction promissory note. You have 2 faction promissory notes. Interesting.
So they are probably now the largest negotiation group in the game.
Yeah, interesting.
Because again, you can just let people through your ships. Like they can just pass through.
Yeah.
Their flagship, I want to say, it lets you do extra movement, if I remember. Oh, no. You can heal your flagship, I think it was, for influence. You spend influence to heal other ships in your flagship.
Wow. After any player's unit in the system or an adjacent system uses sustained damage, you may spend 2 influence to repair that unit. So based off of their Aether Passage, it says it allows that player to move their ships through the systems. Can people end their turn in your system, or is it actually they have to go through?
They have to go through. So if they end in the system, it's going to lead to a combat just like normal. But let's say I don't have there's a planet there that I just don't care about, and I want to make friends with someone. Let them fly through your ships without having to fight you through them. And again, then the flagship kind of goes on there. Your buddy's next to someone who's in a fight, you can start healing his ships while you're not even in that fight.
Unit in the system oh yeah, you're right.
So
if they start doing sustained damage, it's like, okay, I have some influence. Yeah, okay, I'll heal your dreadnought.
Right. And so it's one of those cool things that they can just negotiate. They have 2 promissory notes. I want to say one helps them with votes. Like you both get extra votes if you both agree on what you vote on. And then the other one gives you more trade goods if you guys trade full commodities to each other. You get like an extra trade good if you trade full commodities to each other.
Right.
And so it's like that. I mean, just kind of awesome.
That's pretty powerful. That's very,
Yeah.
very cool. This is a faction that's like right up my alley.
Right.
Because the thing about TI, because everyone wants to work together for the most part. If you don't have
For the
people
most
who
part,
target, everyone's like at the very beginning of the game, it's all very nice, and then
Yes.
hey, that person over there is getting pretty powerful.
Right.
We don't want to help you anymore. So while everyone's being nice, and they're like, "Yeah, thanks, man, let me move through your system," you're like, "Mm-hmm." Just see that army start
Right.
growing. It's like, "Hey, you gonna let me move through?" No, no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
or it's like, I'll let you move through for a trade good.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You start taxing people.
Right.
You have
Just
a toll.
that little toll to get through.
That's funny, but here is where they have, besides based off their abilities, and I'm not seeing anything special about their units.
Mhm.
Once again, not taking into consideration advisors or leaders or things like
Right.
that. They are super good. I see them tanking so hard end game.
I think if you are not a good player, yeah, they're going to tank. They have the potential of tanking it end game.
Yeah. Because at some point, no one's going to care. It's like, okay, I don't want to move through your ships. I want to fight you.
Right.
I don't want your promissory notes. So then it's like they lose a lot of this, besides the fact of the Voidborn, which I'm trying to remember. Nebulae just slow movement, right?
No, so you have to stop when you go into a nebula.
Okay,
And
that's
then
what
it's
it was.
one move out always. The reason why is their homeworld is a nebula. And nebula
Gotcha.
gives you +1 on defense as well. So fighting in their homeworld is harder.
Oh,
So taking
okay.
their homeworld is just harder.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I'm thinking they're A.
You're thinking they're A?
They're A or B.
I was thinking B. I think the plants kind of like you said, they're a slow burn, but I'd rather be on fire by the end of the game than be going out by the end. Because it's like,
That works.
because
Yeah.
with the plants, it's like, chances are people aren't going to attack you earlier on because you're not a threat. So then it's like, boom,
Right.
here I am. And then, I mean, yeah, maybe the Empyrean are too strong by the end because everyone was buddy with them.
Right.
It's just, out of the factions we've talked about so far, I feel like these guys are the ones that are super good. Then all of a sudden they're not good.
Yeah, where all their abilities start disappearing, so it takes a decent player to basically build up enough resources from that buddy situation to not
Exactly.
have a problem at the end of the game.
Exactly.
So yeah, B's good.
All right. I could even see C tier, but for my personal ranking, and I think for the most part, you just wouldn't give this to a new player. I wouldn't anyway.
I wouldn't give this to a new player.
I'd play them against a new player and make them my friend. It's all part of the game. All right. So we got a B tier. So far we're looking pretty good.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, I know these guys.
Hakan.
Yeah, the Hakan. Okay.
Yep. I think that's their original faction.
They are.
All
They
the
are
way
OG.
back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Emirites of Hakan. I've actually read the TI, like, not the books, but like, no, they had like lore books in like third
Yep.
edition and stuff, and yeah, they're basically your kind of what do you call it? They're the people who trade like a lot.
They're merchants. Merchants.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So they have Masters of Trade. You do not have to spend a command token to resolve the second ability of the Trade Strategy card.
Yep.
That's just super nice, just to start you. I mean, these guys, if they don't have, trade goods, like,
right.
they're doing something wrong.
Right.
Guild ships. This is one of my favorite parts. You can negotiate transactions with players who are not your neighbor.
Right. Love it.
That's so good. And then arbiters. When you are negotiating a transaction, action cards can be exchanged as part of that transaction, which is also very good. I forgot that because I was thinking Cosmic Encounter, and I was like, you can trade whatever in this game, right? No, it's just those tokens.
It's just trade and promissory notes.
That's right. And then their flagship, Wrath of Kanara. After you roll a die during a space combat in the system, you may spend 1 trade good to apply +1 to the result. That should just be a passive, just because you should always be getting a +1.
Right.
That would be way better if their combat was lower. Like, man, if it was like a 5 and they could turn it into a 4, it'd be disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest. They're not my favorite faction. If trading, and I get trading with them is way better, you almost always, just because of action cards.
Right.
And the fact that you can trade with whoever, it's not just your immediate neighbors. I don't know. Maybe I just don't view trade goods and stuff as that beneficial.
I don't. So they're fun to play with because, again, they have lots of negotiating power. But realistically, you're just getting tons of money. So unless you have the ability to produce tons of ships as well, money doesn't solve your problems every day in this game.
Right. Right.
It can make friends, but realistically, every time you give $1 to someone else, that's an enemy that you just paid.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. So
exactly. And to trade with them, you also have to trade with someone who also has money.
Right.
So if everyone's poor and you're just like, well, great, I'm rich. I have all these commodities, but I can't convert them willingly.
Because if someone takes trade as their strategy card and they're a 2 commodity faction, it means you have 6 commodities to their 2 commodities. Are you just going to give 6 for 2, or you're just going to do a straight 2 for 2 and you still have 4 left? Like, I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, I will say their arbiter's ability definitely enhances it, because it's like, okay, yes, I will trade you 6 commodities for 2, but I want your hand of action cards, and but that one's, I mean, we were just talking about the Empyrean. I feel like they have more negotiating power than the Hakan.
I do too.
Because every time I've seen them played, I have personally played them, and I have seen them played way more. They always lose. Like,
I don't think I've ever seen them win.
Yeah, you're like you said, you're paying your enemy,
right?
Like, to build, weapons of mass destruction,
right?
So I can't remember if their promissory notes are better.
So the promissory note is you get guildship, basically. The other players also get guildship. So again,
that's right. Yeah.
Again, unless you're getting a good promissory note from someone else, yeah. So unless you're getting a good promissory note from someone else, I don't know that's worth it.
Yeah, and that's just kind of my play style. Like, I don't trade or do anything. I don't negotiate if I'm not getting something else out of it. And the con seem like they're not getting anything out of it.
Right.
It'd be nice if, like, every time they traded, if they got an automatic trade good or something. So if they turned in 6 for the 2, well, at least they get 3, something like that. Oh man, am I gonna be harsh? Am I thinking D? Are they really a D tier? You're right.
I definitely think they're probably D, in my opinion. Only because I think, for me, I put them in D.
I might agree. Just by flat out reading them out, you would think probably C, but when you play TI a lot, the fact that you're helping your opponents, because like the Empyrean, or I mean, even the only one we have an S tier, the Flight. I mean, whenever you have political power, like, you gain like, hey, I won, so I'm just gonna gain this, law that's gonna help me, or I'm gonna elect you because you're doing this for me. The Empyrean, it's like, okay, who cares if I'm letting them go through my system? You don't hurt. You probably gain something for that.
Right.
But the Hakan are just like, yeah, man, just take shit.
Right.
I don't get anything for it.
And
All
that
right.
just is not beneficial at the end of the day.
Yeah. Nope. I agree. All right. Next one.
That is Joel Narr, Universities of Joel Narr's, or Brains in the Jar.
The Universities of Joel Narr. Okay. Once
So
again, yeah, this is one I
this
haven't
faction is
seen.
the faction I give to new people.
This is?
Yeah, they're super easy. So their base game, they are incredibly fun, super powerful.
Yeah, what
So
do
we
they
kind of
got?
go through it.
Yeah, so they got Fragile. Apply -1 to the result of each of your unit's combat rolls.
Yep.
Okay, so that sucks. Uh,
Yeah, but just keep going.
right, brilliant. When you spend a command token to resolve the secondary ability of the technology, you may resolve the primary ability instead. That's really good. Oh, they're
Yes.
nerds.
Yes, they're nerds. They're hardcore nerds.
Analytical. When you research a technology that is not a unit upgrade technology, you may ignore one prerequisite.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty gross.
Yes.
And then they have JNS Hilarum or Hylarum. When making a combat roll for the ship, each result of 9 or 10 before applying modifiers produces 2 additional hits.
So if you hit 9 or 10,
Ew, it's
you score
4?
3 hits.
Their combat is 6. Isn't that 2 damage?
So you roll 2 dice,
That's
and it
right.
needs to be a 7 or better because they have the -1.
That's right. That's what it was.
So
Yeah, I was thinking this was damage.
no,
Yeah,
but
so
so
3 damage.
if you
Ew.
hit a 9 or a 10, it's 3
Yeah.
damage. That is 20% of the time.
Yeah, a nat 9 or 10.
A nat 9 or 10,
Yeah,
and you do 3 damage, which is enough to destroy any ship in the game.
that's true. That is outright true. That is gross. All right. So the fragile by themselves, that's I mean, I see why that's there now,
Right.
considering the fact of they can just spend a command token to take the primary ability of technology, which now allows you to,
Get 2 techs per turn if you want.
yep,
So you are always going to probably have more tech than anybody else in the game. And if you don't have more tech, you always have better tech than anybody else because you can skip prerequisites. So there's a tech you don't want, you skip it, and you get the next one better than it.
that's true. Yeah, especially because it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to upgrade any of my units. And even if you do choose to upgrade your units, then, I mean, that's still just better. Just
And
because,
the other thing that makes them even better than this, they're the only faction that start with all 4 basic techs. All level 0 techs, they
ew,
start with.
ew,
So they can literally go to level 3 techs on turn 1.
gross.
Yes, you can have Light Wave on turn 1 as them.
Wow.
And technically, you can have Assault Cannon if you just upgrade twice in red on turn 1.
You can also just get a free tech by sending
Yeah,
their.
so that is one of their biggest selling points is you can sell your research agreement saying, hey, I'm about to get Light Wave. You want free Light Wave. What's it worth to you?
That's
You
true.
know, you sell it to the person who has tech to get whatever you need, like the money you need for doing the 2 techs or 10 trade goods, and you give them Light Wave.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's funny.
SP.
I don't play high tech aliens all that much. I gotta play these guys.
Yeah, they are so much fun. So I normally, if I have a brand new player, because this faction is really easy, because to me they break the hardest rule to remember because it's not often enough, which is the prerequisites of tech,
Mm-hmm.
and they are really powerful. Probably 50% of the time, I watch new players with this faction just win.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, just techs by themselves. I mean, that's why one of the other factions, just by them getting free technology, is huge.
Right.
Like, and these guys not being quite as powerful, but still, at least not. They still have to, kind of work for tech. Not that much,
Not that much.
but at least it's not free. But
No,
yeah, these guys are nasty.
they're nasty.
I think, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe S tier or high A.
So, in my opinion, their S tier tech is just such an important. Having the right tech, which and early enough in the game is critical, and they just have that flexibility to get the tech that they want.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, and I do think they're better than the ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't think they're better than the flight. Personally,
Yeah.
because their one negotiating power is their promissory note.
Right.
But man, yeah, they're pretty disgusting. I mean, I know tech, takes away some of this, but it's like they seem relatively squishy.
They're definitely
Um,
squishy at the beginning of the game.
yeah.
Which again, as long as you can make a friend with your neighbor by selling them basically tech,
Hmm.
you're going to outrun them in tech. Like, yeah, you give them one tech, but you took two techs. You
Yeah.
probably took two, the second tech, whatever tech what they want with that drive, you're hopefully getting a better tech after that, which they can't get from you.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, it is good that with brilliant and analytical, like they have to research tech and they have to spend a command token
yep,
to do it. Uh, so they don't seem like they're big on resources, and they're not big on like movement and these
yep,
aren't really negatives. It's just ways to make them
pay for
balanced.
their, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd put them up there at S tier. All right. Okay, these
So that
guys.
one should be L1, L1Z1X.
The Lizix.
The Lizix mindset.
Okay, are these new? Huh.
Nope, they're still base games, so
Okay.
they are one of the two Dreadnought factions. They're kind of more the Dreadnought faction than like Barony
Oh,
is,
I
but
see. Okay, so they have, yeah, the Lizix Super Dreadnought. All right, so they have Assimilate. When you gain control of a planet, replace each PDS and space stock that is on that planet with a matching that's nasty.
yep,
And Haro, after each round of ground combat, your ships in the active system may use their bombardment abilities against your opponent's ground forces on the planet.
right.
Oh, you get extra bombardment.
Every round combat you do a bombardment.
Wow.
Yes, which is why they're Dreadnought faction, right? Because
Yeah.
Dreadnoughts are your cheapest thing with bombardment, so you're going to put Dreadnoughts everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then they
And your
have.
Dreadnoughts get extra capacity, so they can carry two instead of one, like
Oh
everyone
yeah.
else.
Okay, I was trying to find the difference. I'm like, what
Yep.
do they get? And then there's 001. During a space combat, hits produced by the ship and by your dreadnoughts in the system must be assigned to non-fighter ships if able. These things are nasty.
Right. They
Wow.
fighter screens don't matter for them anymore. They don't care about fighter screens.
Yeah. Ew.
Yep.
It's a promissory note. When you gain command tokens, start to gain one additional command token. Oh, that's what they give out. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not bad. Realistically, because
I mean, running out of command tokens can suck.
right. And so getting a free one for like a trade good or two is pretty solid.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, they're heavy in dreadnoughts, and dreadnoughts aren't like they're not like super expensive. And
No,
chances are they probably start with one.
I think they do. I think they start with at least
Yeah,
one.
one
Yeah.
dreadnought. 5 infantry, 1 carrier, 3 fighters, space dock, and PDS. Um, yeah, wow. I mean, they're not making a lot of friends, at least
No.
not through pleasant negotiation. There's
Right.
I will, like,
I will
you could
smash
sweep,
you.
yeah, with
Yes.
a fleet of dreadnoughts.
And they don't really care, in my opinion, about losing planets because they'll just come back and take it again. Like
That's
them
true.
losing planet, as long as they got to spend the planet before they lost it, they don't care because they're just going to come back with like two infantry and bombard your planet to its dust.
Yeah, they're just gonna glass everyone's planet.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't keep just 2 infantry on your dreadnoughts.
Yeah, I mean, so the only thing is I can think I a lot of times play them with I pair dreadnoughts, so I can put 2 infantry and 2 fighters,
Yeah.
just to soak up some hits, if they do get into a skirmish with someone.
Oh my god, imagine if you were allies with the Empyrean and they
Oh
were just
yeah,
healing your dreadnoughts.
oh yeah, just devastating. And then you get somebody like trying to remember who the fire Muat, your fire people with war sons, and they just put up a fighter screen to try and stop you. Well, you just throw your flagship into that fight, and
That's
then
true.
their war son now is 1-on-1 against your dreadnoughts.
That's true. And yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't care about all your fighters. Suck it.
Right.
That is a high cost flagship though.
It is. Well,
That's,
they're all 8.
are they all 8?
Yep.
I haven't been really paying attention because normally I've been looking just at the ability, and I'm like, man, okay, 8 seems like a lot.
Now, all flagships are 8. The only thing that changes on them is combat, move, and capacity.
Okay, fair enough. Huh. Okay, the Lizix mine. I want to know more about them. Their design's really cool.
Yeah. They're fun to play. But they are one of those you don't negotiate in friend terms. It's
Yeah.
negotiation of fear.
Which, I mean, it works.
It works.
Like, well, because I remember playing a game and this guy, he had so many units on a planet, like so many ground forces, that it's like, well, that's basically gone. Actually, I think we got it was either an event or a politics card that was like, it was like plague or nuke or something, and we're like, we're gonna pick your planet because you have the most people there.
Right.
And then like next turn, he just built them all back.
Right.
But yeah, like planet control, and there's no longer a fear of trying to win throughout ground combat. You send a few infantry in, and it's like, yeah, every round I'm just gonna be bombarding, and I have 5 of my dreadnoughts.
Right.
Man, what are we thinking? A?
I think A, because the weakness is you just only get 5 dreadnoughts in the game, and so it's if you make too many enemies, you just have so many fronts that you just can't fight enough fronts.
Right.
Anymore.
Right. And then action cards come in where it's like, oh, you took a hit, taking another one, and they dreadnoughts are not impervious.
Right.
But I mean, you have a carrier with you, then you have your own fighter screen.
Right. And that's what you need to do. So, but then when you start looking, it's like, okay, that's a lot of tech that you need because you need to get 2 blue techs and a yellow tech, and then cruiser 2, dreadnought 2. And so it's just eats up your timeline for everything.
That's true, yeah. And they don't start with either of those. They start with a green and a
red. So literally the worst start you could have for tech for them.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, plasma scoring is not bad because plasma scoring adds another role for your bombardment. You're already getting to bombard every single round. So it plays into that strength, but you're already good at it. You don't need necessarily extra.
I mean, it still does rely on die rolls.
Right.
So it's like you could their whole thing could just be dog shit if they're rolling poorly,
Sure.
So, are they B now because of that?
Because everything's roll based.
It is, and even though the plasma, it's like, okay, now I hit on a 4 or higher, so realistically, I should be able to take this planet, but I don't necessarily like the idea of relying on luck to be as good. I mean, if you have all your but that's the thing, you're not going to keep all your dreadnoughts in one system.
No, you're going to probably have them in maybe 2 or 3 systems at most.
Right. And then, of course, merge them together if you're trying to really if someone's really holding up on Argent Rex.
Right.
And then you're coming in. So then, I mean, if you have all of them in one system, that's 5 dice hitting on a 4 or higher. Chances with action cards, but chances are you're gonna hit.
It's still gonna be 5, but you just get extra die. So
extra die. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you roll 10 dice.
Yeah.
each ground combat.
It's just 1 die, so it's 6 die. So really, you want plasma scoring spread along as many of your ships as possible.
I see. Huh.
So it's not bad. Yeah, to me, they're A or B tier.
Yeah.
To me, they don't have what I call that finishing move. They're just kind of strong, but there's no change in that strength ever. Strong at the beginning, and then it stays.
Yeah, and especially, it's kind of like you look really powerful, and you are.
Right.
But yeah, like, I guess also if you were taking into consideration like the special cards from landing on planets, but that's already gone considering people have already landed there for you to be strong anyway.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I'll put them at B.
Yep.
Actually, probably gonna put them there.
Okay.
Now that I think about it, I think I'll put them behind the plants and the Empyrean. Okay.
That one is going to be the other one, which is Barony. That's the other Dreadnought faction.
Barony of Letnev. Okay. Boop. All right. Yeah, these guys are OG as well.
Yep.
All right. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. They're Letnev flagship, but interesting because like the other guys were showing the specialty of Dreadnought.
Right. Because they got a special Dreadnought. These guys are considered Dreadnoughts because one of their abilities, I think it's that top one, gives you +2 in your fleet pool, or it's Armada.
Yeah. Yeah, munition reserve. At the start of each round of space combat, you may spend 2 trade goods. You may re-roll any number of your dice during that combat round. That's really good. I like that quite a bit. And then Armada, the maximum number of non-fighter ships you can have in each system is equal to 2 more than the number of tokens in your fleet pool.
Right.
Wow.
Which means that turn 2, you can remove everything from your fleet pool, put it around everything else, and make that round 2 just great. Because normally in round 2, you're not having more than 2 ships in a system.
True. Yeah. Especially, but yeah, even just having one, you having that flexibility to always have more ships in a system than anyone else.
Right.
They're pretty solid. What's their flagship? Arc Secundus. Other players' units in the system lose planetary shield at the start of each space combat round. Repair this ship. Oh wow! And then they have bombardment 5 × 3.
Right.
Ew. Yeah. Okay.
And they hit on 5s. They roll 2 dice with hits on 5 for their flagship.
On 5. Yeah.
So it's a pretty solid flagship.
And the fact is, it automatically repairs planetary shields don't matter anymore. So PDSs, it's like, okay, these things suck.
Right.
And
which is again why you're going to take some dreadnoughts with you as well, because you're just going to get that many bombardments. I mean, you're just going to crash planets.
Exactly. Yeah, I almost feel like they're a little bit better than the Lizics. Because the Lizics sound imposing, and the fact that they do get bombardment every combat round, that's if you're planning on going hot heavy into ground combat, which you might. But I don't know, versatility and action efficiency with these guys, like you said, move everything out of fleet, and then just survive off two alone. And then it's like, oh, okay, people are competing, so all right, I'll move 1 in, so now I can have 3 in each.
Right. It just gives you that little bit more flexibility.
And they also get their you'd have to spend 2 trade goods, but I mean, this is where the con come in. Hey, you want to start trading me some stuff?
Right.
And then now you get to re-roll, so now you're not relying on dice as much.
Right. You can at least mitigate your dice a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say, like, even with the Lizics and stuff, like, I haven't ever played a game of TI where dice were, like, awful.
I haven't.
Everyone has, like, their one combat where they whiff, but chances are you're going to hit.
Right.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty basic, but I like them. Where do we like them?
So to me, they're just like they're either A or B still for me.
Yeah. I'm thinking low A. I
Low
think
A.
yeah, because we were gonna put the Lizics there, but then
Yeah.
we started seeing more flaws, and the flaws that we had with them aren't here with these guys.
Right. They're not just their abilities aren't reliant on
Yeah.
dice.
And theoretically, it's like these abilities are just a benefit and not something
Right.
you actually even have to rely on. What do I
Right.
start with? Anti-mass deflectors and plasma scoring, so the bombardments are better.
And again, starting with the blue tech's always good because that means your next attack can be grab drive.
That's true. Yeah.
And I have never seen a game where grab drive hurt you.
Yeah, I'm thinking low A.
There you go.
Are they better than the ghosts? What do you think? You think they're better than the ghosts?
I don't think so because I think Ghost, that extra movement at the end of the game lets you do wild things to score.
That's true.
Score points that other people don't think are ever going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay. All right, let's go into this one.
That one it's not macabre, it's what is it? It's close to macabre.
I was like, maybe he'll just pull up anyway.
Let's see here. How do you say their names?
It's funny.
Mahawk. It's Mahawk, so it's a MAHACT.
MAHA.
CT.
Oh man. Okay. I have
They're
seen.
the sorcerers.
Yeah, I have seen these guys, and I'm like, they look so fucking cool.
Yeah.
All right.
They're so cool.
I mean, I haven't been reading their quotes, but I don't, because that's just whatever.
Right.
But theirs is just Neil.
Yes.
Okay. So they have Edict. When you win a combat, place one command token from your opponent's reinforcements in your fleet pool if it does not already contain one of that player's tokens. Other players' tokens in your fleet pool increase your fleet limit but cannot be redistributed. Wow, that's just a big old fuck you.
And
like,
so again, because this is the expansion, it actually plays into their commander, which we don't have to talk about every single one, but they get, if you have their token, they get everyone's abilities of their commanders of whose tokens they've stolen.
Ew.
Yes.
Ew.
So not only does your fleet pool increase, but you get more abilities for your faction as you take over people.
Dang. That's really nasty.
Yes.
Imperia. While other player's command token is in your fleet pool, you could use the ability of that player's commander if it is unlocked.
Yep, there it is.
And then Hubris. During setup, purge your alliance promissory note. Other players cannot give you their alliance promissory note. So you're just public enemy number one.
So lore-wise, they are the ancient enemy that the Lizics came and defeated.
Okay.
Who everyone else came and crushed them, and then that's how this whole fight became, and they basically woke up during the expansion. So
and there's this wow. So there's just this ancient race that's come back to claim what's rightfully theirs.
Right, exactly.
And an Afrikaan Rex. During combat against an opponent whose command token is not in your fleet pool, apply +2 to the results of this unit's combat roll. So it hits on a 3 or higher.
For anybody they have not defeated before. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the flagship, cool, becomes useless.
Yep.
Probably halfway through the game. Dang, we were just talking about action efficiency with the Barony. But these guys are just that on another level.
Right.
The Edict, I mean, because that's just naturally, if you're playing a 6-player game, your fleet pool, I mean, you just go out and you just fight someone. You go and fight someone who has a carrier left on their own.
Right.
And then...
I mean, again, you're going to become enemy number one because your goal is kind of go fight everyone.
Mm-hmm.
At least a little bit. So...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you slowly fight everyone. I mean, but at that point, it feels like it's gonna be too little, too late.
Right,
Because
exactly.
then it's like, oh yeah, okay, you guys all hate me. Well, my fleet is 10.
Right,
So
exactly. Or you just subtract everything out because like once you hit 3 enemies that you've taken, you have a fleet pool of 3 already.
exactly.
I don't need to put any more tokens into fleet. I can pull all of my tokens and put them other places to do more actions.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, and you also indirectly make people not want to bring out their commander. Because
Right,
then it's like, well, I've beaten all of you. So now I
right,
just have all these abilities. Just give me your commander cards. I'm not going to remember all of them.
right.
And then if you get out your flagship, I mean, honestly, you could just save up the beginning of the game, do nothing until you get your flagship out, and then start sweeping the board.
Right.
Because you just have that much more firepower to, it's like, yeah, okay. Because, I mean, you lead everyone to a false sense of security. Everyone's like, yeah, he hasn't really done anything. Oh my god! Then that risk just sweep the map. Yeah, I'm just
Right.
gonna go around. I'm gonna go to your home planet. I'm gonna go to your home planet. Everyone, I'm coming to all your home planets. You can't stop me.
Right. Which again, their
Dang.
quote is Neil.
Yeah. Their design's so cool.
Yeah.
Like super dope. Uh I'm curious because I remember you were saying what their commander did, but that ended up being their Imperia.
Right. So their commander, now I remember, their commander is actually super cool because what it does is you can play a second command token on a spot that has your command token in it, and it makes
Oh,
both disappear. So
really?
as long as you have enough command tokens, you can basically just keep basically warfaring yourself for an extra command token.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
would because you wouldn't need to worry about them in your
Right.
fleet pool.
Especially at the end of the game where everything matters, like that last
Mhm.
turn, and you need that point. You've built up the command token base, and you just say, "Okay, let's go for it."
That's true. That's true.
So,
Huh. S or A? High A maybe?
high A, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, high A. I can't quite give them an S because everyone hates you.
Right, and that's my thing is like the Burge and Joel Nar, you're not going to be hated that much until the end of the game. Um, with them, like I'm probably going to hate you the minute you pick that faction because I know you want to attack me. You want to do it. It's not
Yeah.
like even a side goal.
And they're hindered on negotiation from the get-go.
Right. They're not
So,
designed to negotiate.
no. You probably could. I mean, once again, it's that same mentality of you're negotiating through fear.
Right.
Um,
But the problem is that I know we're negotiating from fear, but I know you still want to come and kill me at least once.
yeah.
Like, there's no debate there on that one.
You could make them a really powerful ally, though, if you're like, you know what? Tell you what, like if you're on the other side of the table and you have
Right.
no real way of getting to me quick enough, it's like, tell you what, if someone like slights me, I could be like, hey Zach, will you attack them? I will put
Right.
one of my weak ass ships for you to just
Sure.
freely beat me if you fuck that guy over.
Right. And you can do that. Like, again, and that's the wonder of TI is you can make these outlandish, agreements on how
Yeah.
you're going to fight.
I can't remember if I ever asked you, but do you do negotiation? Do you do it where it has to stay at the table, or do you do text? Do you do walk away?
We do walkaways in person
Okay,
normally.
gotcha.
Online, there are whispers. So it publicly says like red and blue are whispering to each other, but it doesn't tell you what they texted each other.
Okay,
And
okay,
the reason is because you can't watch two people walk away like you
right.
can in real life.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do it is that kind of like, oh, those two are walking away and making a deal that they don't want anybody else at the table to know.
Yeah.
That's a little bit suspicious.
Right. Yeah, that's what happened with my Rising Sun game. Like it was like, okay, so negotiation phase, and everyone starts breaking off. Where
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
hey, will you come with me? No.
Right.
Oh, okay. I guess. Fuck
I
you.
know who's attacking me next turn.
Right.
The answer is you should always walk away, even though you're not going to do the negotiation
That's
the way
fair.
the person wants.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So it's funny, we
Strong.
got 3 pretty war-heavy factions in a row,
Right.
and they're definitely better than I think both of them.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So now we got
That
those
one
two.
is the Pirates.
Oh yeah.
What is their name? Mentec. So MENTAK.
Oh, TAK. Um, the Mentac Coalition.
Yep.
Okay. I've seen them played as well. So at the start of space combat, they have ambush. That's right, they were played against me actually, and the person who was playing them was a very passive person, and I'm like,
Oh, this is
you're
not
playing the
passive
yeah,
faction.
I'm like, you were playing the wrong faction, my man.
Yeah.
At the start of space combat, you may roll 1 die for each of up to 2 of your cruisers or destroyers in the system. For each result equal to or greater than that ship's combat value, produce 1 hit. Your opponent must assign it to one of his ships. And then pillage. After one of your neighbors gains trade goods or resolves a transaction, if he has 3 or more, you may take one. That's right.
Yeah.
So I remember specifically how this faction was used. He focused really heavily on the pillage part, and he was neighbors with the Hakan.
Oh, yeah.
So he was constantly just gaining free trade goods.
Oh,
He had
yeah.
an army. He had a really massive army, but he just never wanted to attack anyone.
Hmm.
And I'm like, all right, because who was I? I don't remember who I was playing in that game. I think I don't think it was the fleet or flight. I'll see them whenever they come up.
Yep.
But and then their 4th moon flagship. Other players' ships in the system cannot use sustained damage. I mean,
It's solid.
it's pretty
Yep.
good. Don't really have a whole lot to say about them. Um, yeah, they fight really well. I mean,
Yeah.
free
Especially
hits.
early game.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, well, not free hits, potential free hits.
Right.
They go really hard into cruisers and destroyers.
Right.
Um,
Which are
which
cheap.
are cheap, and I mean, destroyers suck because they hit on a 9 or higher.
Right.
But cruisers aren't. I mean, 7 or higher. It's not the worst. But because of their pillage, basically they just. I mean, if they can spread out and be adjacent to everyone, then
Right.
they're just gaining free trade goods.
Right. And you can always use that pillage as a negotiation tool. So, I'm not going to pillage you this term, but you have to do a ceasefire exchange with me.
True.
Those type of ideas.
Yeah.
Because again, everything in TI is a negotiation tool at the end of the day.
That's true. Yeah.
So
It just depends on player
yep.
and how you want to utilize your
Right.
faction. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably put them at C.
Yep. For me,
Like,
they're probably solid C.
yeah. I mean, in terms of like a tier list, like C would be like a 5 out of 10, maybe a little higher, maybe a 6 out of 10. It is nice that you don't. I would give them a pretty to like a beginner.
Yeah,
Like,
I would too.
it's like, hey, you don't really have to think too much about your abilities. Like, just if you start
Yep.
space combat, roll dice,
Right.
and you might just get some free hits. Oh, by
Right.
the way, if you have your flagship in there, great. They can't use sustained damage, so
Right.
they can do some quick guerrilla warfare.
Right.
They'd be a disgusting counter to,
Anybody that goes heading to dreadnoughts.
yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean the Barony and the Lizix, just a
Yep.
pretty solid counter if you combat with them.
Right.
So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot more on the Mentac.
Nope.
All right, fire
That
people.
is Muat. AAT.
I was close. Oh, the Embers of Muat.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we are. Okay. Oh, I like them.
So they are the ones that start with War Sons. So if you want to give someone the death egg in the game, you give them this faction.
Ew. No, I have not seen them. I have not played nor played against them.
So they get a weak version of the War Sun, so it only has one movement versus 2, and it costs the same. They're 12.
So it's 12, 3, 1, 6, and then who were the other people? They were I would need their War Sun ability to
Right. So it's the same. So it's 12, 3, 2, 6.
Okay.
But the advantage is when you upgrade your War Sun, it goes 10, 3, 3, 6. So they get 3 movement.
Dang.
Yes.
So they're just War Sun.
They are
like
War Sun.
they're just the War Sun faction.
Yep. They are War Suns.
Well, they get Starforge. As an action, you can spend 1 token from your strategy pool to place either 2 fighters or 1 destroyer from your reinforcements in a system that contains 1 or more of your War Suns. Oh, so they're deployed from your War Sun.
Right.
And gosh, life physiology, your ships can move through supernovas. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
That's really dope. And then their flagship, the Inferno. As an action, spend 1 token from your strategy pool to place 1 cruiser in this unit system.
Right.
Dang.
So I don't know how your group plays TI, but I was playing one where it was a map build TI game.
Okay.
And
like you guys took turns.
Yeah, you take turns and you build the map, right? And you're given X number of tiles, and the book tells you how many tiles.
Yeah.
But you get 2 reds. So someone had. Normally how it does is it's draft. So you take them and then you pass.
Oh,
you
okay.
take a tile and you pass. Okay. So, and a lot of people play nicely where they kind of just build their slice. But this one guy, super big brain moment. He had Muat. He knew the guy to his right had to take the sun because he passed it was the last tile.
Okay.
So he put like a asteroid field right in front of that guy's homeworld. So the next guy then in response put the sun right in front of Muat's homeworld, but he didn't know he had Muat yet. He immediately flipped and showed like, hey, I have Muat. And literally the table just erupts because everybody been playing nice, building their slice nicely, and then this guy did a dick move and then was rewarded for his dick move.
Oh my god. That's so funny. Can you imagine the look on that guy's face where he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Can I take that back? That's insane.
Oh, but
so because War Suns, like, man, they just make you a target as soon as you build one.
And they're so expensive.
Yeah.
$12.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, they bombard like crazy. Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, they're a 1-man army.
Right. That's
they
what they
come
are.
in. They can hold all the fighters.
Yep.
So unless you have very specific ones where it's like, hey, by the way, you have to assign this.
Right.
Right. That's the one faction that it's like, hey, I don't give a fuck about your fighters.
Right.
Even this one at 12, even though it's slow, at a 3 die, 3 hit, bombardment 3 times 3.
Right.
Like, you'd be dumb not to buy it, to save up for it.
And again, remember, you start with 1. And
Yeah.
You can only get 2, so you can get the second one.
Oh, they actually start with 1?
Yes, they're starting unit.
Yes, I didn't know. I thought they just had the ability to build one.
No.
They start with 1.
They start with 1. Now they start with almost nothing but a War Sun.
That's true. I mean, you have to start with the space dock so you can build.
Right.
But I mean, that's the thing. You have capacity 6. You move it out. You have an ability that allows you to place fighters and destroyers in the area with your War Sun, thus giving you more abilities to defend it. And you can move through supernovas, which is normally just a wasted tile.
Yeah, it's a wall.
And the fact that it says you can move through it, so I'm assuming you would have to, you can't land in it. So you can't just, okay, yeah.
So they have a tech that allows them to land in it.
They do?
They do.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
one of their special techs to do that.
Gotcha. So
Or
if
faction
if
tech.
things are getting a little dicey, you just move your War Sun into the Supernova, and it's like, okay, I'm just
Right.
gonna, my egg here. I'm gonna Superman this and absorb. Like,
Right. And you can
dang,
rebuild a fleet from inside the
just
supernova.
from your Starforge ability.
Right.
That's fucking gross, dude.
It is. Again, they're so expensive they have nothing to begin with other than a War Sun. And because War Suns can still be taken down with like direct hit, so they're always a little more fragile than like Dreadnoughts are, because Dreadnoughts too ignore direct hits anymore. And so they're glass cannon-y is what they really are.
Sure.
They're that giant glass cannon.
But the question is people have to build up to that, and by that time you're probably close to getting your upgraded War Sun, therefore
Probably.
making them cheaper and that much faster.
Yes.
So it's like, oh no, you destroyed my prototype.
Right.
Here's my other one.
Right.
And because you start with one, like, it's, man, I don't know. I think you have immediate negotiating power. Like the other guys, I'm drawing a blank on them. The Sorcerers.
Yep.
Like they have a really good fear one, but that's throughout the game.
Right.
Like even the Lizzix and the Barony are kind of throughout the game because they become a threat once you have the army. You have the army.
Right.
Who? I like them. I think they're cool. I think that's pretty neat. I definitely agree with you though. Yeah, like War Suns, they're not. I mean, they're not indestructible.
Right.
Sustained damage is it is passable, but you can do a lot of damage before people are finally able to take it down.
Yep. And my problem is this: if they, as a faction, got a third War Sun, I would think it would be a little bit better because again, you can only have 2 War Suns in the game. Is the problem, and so that means you only have 2 fronts that you're ever able to defend in a 3-front game at least.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, because like you said, with a tech, they can go into a supernova and just start spending actions to build.
Right.
It's like the War Sun isn't the end all be all, but it sure fucking is if you have dreadnoughts and cruisers with you.
Right.
And fighters to be like, anyway, yeah, we're just gonna absorb this damage.
And that's what you do, is you gotta go fighter heavy with them.
Yeah. I mean, because you can add, fighters and a destroyer, and then the flagship allows you to place a cruise. So, I mean, the flagship is not bad either.
No.
It
hits on a 5 or 2.
Exactly.
With 2
and
dice.
The fact you bring in a cruiser, which is for free. They just get free ships. Therefore, not having to spend their money on those ships.
Yeah, you're spending your money on tokens. Is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to spend tokens for ships.
Yeah.
And so you spend your money on tokens, which again, as we talked about before, is flexibility. That's all it is more flexibility to build ships. Now, you're kind of spending a little bit more on those tokens than you are on the ships, but you can put ships out on the front lines versus back home.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. And if you could really swindle someone into placing or if you, because you asked how we build. Typically, because the people I'm playing with don't live near me, I usually just I just shuffle the tiles and just randomly build around, and it is what it is. And I put people's homeworlds where they're going to be sitting around the table.
Right.
Ideally, you would want to draft, but it's just way easier for me to have the game completely set up by the time they show up.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you were able to, because there's one supernova, right?
With the expansion, there's 2 now.
There are 2. God, if you didn't draft, let's say you just shuffled and you're like, here's your stack, and you just gave them out, and you had both of them, and you just put them in front of your homeworld.
The only thing is, it definitely protects your homeworld, but also then because you only have that one movement, you gotta figure out a way to get out too, to go get planets.
I mean, the physiology allows you to move through them.
But you only have one movement.
With the War Sun specifically,
Yeah.
So the War Sun's not getting out, but everything else can.
Right.
Yeah, I can see them being frustrating if you're not getting the trade goods that you need, because then you're really not playing up to their faction.
They're solid.
Where would you
B
put
for
them?
me. They're solid B.
You're thinking B?
Yeah.
War Suns are so cool, though.
Yeah, and that is the thing. That War Suns are cool, but they don't solve every problem that I need.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of thinking in between, like here, but we'll put them in B. I'm mainly more of just like War Sun. I think they are super cool, and I think they can do really well. But yeah, if you're up against any of the factions we've mentioned before, where it's like, first of all, the Creole just constantly just move around you.
Right.
If you're super slow, and then just ignoring sustained damage, and hell, even the fucking pirates are just like, oh, ambush, and then just, oh, okay, now you have to assign this damage elsewhere.
Right.
So,
or they take your trade goods that you need for War Suns.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I'd agree. They're really neat, but if they have any type of hindrance, then you're basically playing a faction with no ability.
Right.
So, all right, what do we got here?
That one is the snake. So that one is the Nalu Collective.
Boom! Actually, kind of right. All right.
So these.
Oh God, no! I can't show this on YouTube. Blur it out. Sexy snake people. So they're all right. So there we go. Right there. We don't need to talk about them. They're just straight at best tier.
Hey, if Fantasy Flight wasn't making this game and the other company that we know of that likes, furries was producing, it would definitely be number one right there.
God, if I ever were like at a convention and I saw Jamie playing and he happened to be playing them, I would just look at him and I know what you're up to. All right. The Nalu Collective.
Yep.
So they have telepathic at the end of the strategy phase. Place the Nalu 0 token on your strategy card. You are first in initiative order. Love it. I love that so much.
So good.
Foresight. After another player moves ships into a system that contains one or more of your ships, you may place one token from your strategy pool in an adjacent system that does not contain another player's ships. Move your ship. Oh, so you can just avoid combat.
Yes.
I was like, this is really wordy, but I'm seeing why they say it.
Right. So I think the story behind them is they're psychic snakes. So they can see, everything before other people. That's why they go first. That's why they can run away without having a fight ever.
You may place one token in it that does not contain another player's ships. Move your ships. So you can actually use that to move out of systems that have your strategy token.
Only if somebody moves into yours, yeah.
Only if someone does that, yeah.
It's a skill retreat without having to have the card skill retreat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Matriarch. During an invasion in the system, you may commit fighters to planets as if they were ground forces. After combat, return those units to the space area. Oh, wow.
Which their fighters are already better, so they get +1 on their hits compared to everybody else's fighters.
They are.
Yeah.
And that's actually very interesting, considering fighters are used, as we've been saying, as a cushion. They're fodder.
Right.
I don't know if it's an actual rule anymore. There was a variant in 3rd edition where if you had like a lone fighter, it could destroy a War Sun.
Yeah, they took that out, but I have seen it where some people bring it back in.
I don't blame them. It's the Death Star.
It's the Death Star run.
It's virtually impossible to do, but if you
have the Force on your side, you're going to do it.
You could do it, and man, is it awesome if you can pull it off. So here you actually have a faction that utilizes fighters relatively well. I mean, because they're
Yeah.
basically free.
Yeah.
And then, dude, I gotta say, this is a faction that is right up my alley because I will always try to pick first. Like, not in just TI, in any game. Like, if it's like a choose your wake up order, like viticulture or something, it's like first. Like, it's just not like, because me getting to do what I want to do first before anyone else, I just view that as super powerful.
And it is because, again, if you think about like scoring is always done in initiative order.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have first initiative.
That's true. Yeah, you are first in initiative order. So does that mean you get to pick your strategy card first too?
No, so you pick your strategy card, and whatever number it is, it now becomes a 0.
I see. Okay.
So you're just faster at it.
Gotcha. I see. That's still not horrible. It doesn't quite give me what I thought it did of being able to pick your strategy card before everyone else. Like, you always got to pick first. So you still are reliant on overall turn order.
Right. You're still reliant on politics of when you get to pick your strategy card.
Exactly.
But it means that it comes down to a tie at the last round of who scores first. You win. You break the tie.
That's pretty dope. And then the foresight's very interesting. Just being able to, you have the mass. These guys alone ignore the sorcerers. Nope. Nope.
Right.
You're not going to combat me.
Right. If you don't want to get in combat and you have the tokens to spend on it, you don't have to fight in a combat.
Yeah.
So if it's not really on your terms, or they have a secret of they need to win with their flagship, and they come in trying to fight one of your weak armies with a flagship, you run away from them.
Yeah. And then unless they have something else other than warfare, then they just wasted their entire move just to get to you.
Right.
Huh. And I like the flagship where you get to use your fighters as ground forces.
Because again, then you still have to bring a ground force to take the planet, but you bring 1 ground force and 5 fighters with just that flagship, and your fighters are already, just the basic fighters are hitting what ground forces do.
That's true.
So it's not a loss on that.
That's true. Yeah. Wow. For someone as simple as them, I think they're really good.
I always enjoy playing with them.
Like, I think they're kind of up here with the ghosts. I think they're kind of a utility faction. Like, they're not, as apparently powerful as, war, start with a War Sun or insane bombardment. But for sheer versatility, and you're not with all these ones, these two and these two, you're an asshole from the beginning.
Right.
Everyone hates you. No one hates you with these 4.
Right.
No one really even hates you with the definitely no one hates you if you're the Hakan.
Right.
You're everyone's friend.
The only reason you hate the Hakan is because, oh, do you want to make a deal? Oh, do you want to make a deal? Do you want to make a deal? It's like, no, I'm done trying to make deals.
Yeah. This game has been 8 hours. Shut up.
Yes.
Yeah. I think avoiding combat until you want to fight, and I think going first is, for me, it's more powerful than movement. But that's just me personally. I don't know where your thoughts are. If you think they should be A, or if you're kind of like, dude, they suck, they're F.
No, I think they're A or B. And I'd probably put them in front of Ghosts. I do think that because of the fact that you can make fighter screens, because you're going to go fighters too, you just should. You're already a fighter faction. So then you can start gumming up everything with your fighters, because your fighters don't need capacity anymore. They can just sit by themselves.
Yeah.
And so basically what you do is you just, as you move out, you always leave a fighter somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. They don't start with any fighters, but they start with Neural, Motivator, and Sarween tools. What's the is this their special tech?
Yeah, so Nurglaive, which is really expensive, but you lose a command token every time you go into a system with them.
After another player activates this, that player, ew. So it just weakens their fleet.
Right.
Interesting. Can that remove the sorcerer's fleets? The ones that he's getting from
I
defeating
think
other
so.
players. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Nasty.
the thing is, because if I know you have that, light wave is still cheaper than that tech is. So I go for light wave, right? And I negate that. I just fly through your ships instead of walking through your
Gotcha.
wave of fighters.
Gotcha. And then, yeah, this unit may move without being transported. Each fighter in excess of your ship's capacity counts as half of a ship against your fleet pool. Oh, wow. That's really,
Which
really
is
good.
So the normal one is they count as one against your fleet pool. They're half.
They're
So
now
you can
half.
carry 2 fighters where everyone else could carry 1, fighter with a normal level 2 fighter. So,
Dang.
and again, they hit on 7s. So they hit on what a base cruiser hits on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Still being super duper cheap. And
Yes.
and now
And
their
2
movements
movement.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
super solid fighters. And
Yeah.
so you will go those fighters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd put them above the Creols.
Yep.
I almost would put them above the Sorcerers, but that'd be my own personal thing. I think for gameplay wise, these guys are just inherently more powerful.
I think so, just because of the versatility.
Yeah, that's what I think. All right, this one I definitely don't know.
That's the Rosnoku or Rosnoku, I believe, Nazroku Alliance. We'll see if it pulls up.
Yep.
There. Yep.
I was like, I was kind of close. Oh, okay. So Bast and some hairless monkey.
Right. Pretty much.
Okay. These guys don't look familiar at all.
They're in the expansion.
Okay, that must be it.
Yep.
Okay, so they have distant skies. When you explore a planet that contains one of your mechs, you may draw. Oh, okay, here's our first mech person.
Yep.
You may draw 1 additional card, choose 1 to resolve, and discard the rest. Okay, that's okay. So they're very heavily focused on the expansion stuff.
Yes, 100%.
And then fabrication. Either purge 2 of your relic fragments of the same type to gain 1 relic, or purge 1 to gain 1 command token.
So normally everyone
You
else
need
takes
3, right?
3. Yep.
Yeah.
And so they do it cheaper, and realistically, you can just choose to get more action tokens instead.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, as we've said, why we put some in A is just because of action economy.
Yeah.
And they have
I
action
agree.
economy.
And then Viz Elvir, their flagship, your mechs in this system roll 1 additional die during combat. Okay, well, let me check something.
So their mechs can
They do
both fight
still
on the
roll.
ground and in the air. That's one of the cool things about their mechs.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we don't have the mech card. Okay, well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, so that means when you use a flagship with, let's say, 3 mechs, so their mechs use 2 dice apiece, so their mechs are shooting with 3 dice each at, like, I think it was 6.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because all mechs are ground forces, so except for them. That's pretty dope. I'm not really getting their theme. Like, I have no idea. Like, maybe if I took the time to read this.
Yeah. So
But
briefly, I think each species was on each planet, and they were slaves to some race that they both basically combined to overthrow. And so
I
now
see.
they're in a permanent alliance to go explore the galaxy.
Oh, okay. So the Nas and okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, so they're not wowing me. I think I know that like exploration is super cool. Maybe it's because I didn't play with this faction, but every time I've explored, it was kind of like, oh, here's another thing. And because you're relying on the cards, and you're like, boy, I really hope I get some relics. I mean, their ability seems like it's kind of like it reminds me of in Scythe, the white faction, where it's like, hey, each encounter card you get to pick 2. That's really good. Now you don't have an ability.
Right.
So
So there's some techs that allow you to always do more explores on basically planets you've already explored before on.
Okay.
And so as long as you're doing it with mechs, your chances of getting relics are twice as high as everyone else.
True.
And then realistically, what I've seen a lot of the better players do is they don't spend them for relics. They spend them from action tokens because again, realistically, that's how you win games, is being able to do more actions than everybody else.
That's true. It does feel like that you're not really using. I mean, you are, obviously that's one of their abilities, but it's like
Right.
it's like you want to make them be like the collectors and just have a bunch of cool stuff, but it's like, oh well, I didn't get what I needed this game, so I guess I'll just get rid of them. I don't know. I think that if you were able to get some really cool relic fragments, or not relic fragments, some really cool relics, then it could be good, and they could be a lot of fun because you have all the special stuff that no one else does.
Yep.
But if you don't, then yeah, you do resort to, okay, I'm just going to get rid of these for command tokens, which again is good, but that doesn't really differentiate you anymore than anyone else.
Yeah.
I think what makes them even better is like what you said, that their mechs fly.
Right.
Like that's to me the coolest part about them.
Right. And their mechs fly really strongly with the flagship.
Yeah.
So basically you have the
exactly.
spear point that just wipes things out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that that's pretty neat. And then, because everyone's going to explore, that's the thing.
Right.
Is inherently people are just going to, so that starts dwindling your ability, just like Scythe, where the white faction is like, I can maybe get 2, maybe 3 encounters in this game. I mean, granted, if you get 3, you get 6 options, which is more than anyone else is going to get.
Right.
But the game lasts longer than what your 6 options are, and so now everyone's still utilizing their abilities, and you're not.
Right.
So it's like these guys sound super cool at the very beginning of the game.
Right.
And then they suck the rest of the game. That's just my kind of thing. I don't know. Who are these again? Oh, the pirates. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I think they're here. I think they're in D. I definitely don't. I can't see B for sure.
I'd probably put them in C because of the mechs and because they start with the tech that allows them to constantly explore the same planet over and over again. And so they're not weakened by that as much.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have to, you're exploring the same planets, but again, you're just looking at cards. So you're not still limited too badly on that.
Yeah. But then it's kind of like we go back to kind of what we put the Lizics further, not the Lizics. Yeah. Further down, where it was kind of like, well, you better hope you draw well.
Right.
And yeah, you do have better options, but it's like you're spending a lot of your time exploring.
Yeah.
And then hope that the relic that you get is good.
Right.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I think if we're putting them in C, then I'm gonna move the Hakan up. Because I think I think they're kind of the same. Like,
okay, well,
then
let's put them both in D then.
Because they sound so cool, and maybe it's like if I played them and I'm like, oh man, I have all this really cool shit, and I'm exploring so much fun, then I'd probably put them up. Because I have seen the Hakan played, and I don't know, it seems like you're doing so much with them.
Yeah.
While everyone else is already progressing. But I'd have to take a look at the explore cards as well, because if I'm not mistaken, they're not all good, right? Aren't there some where it's like poisonous gas, or there's some hazards?
So the hazard ones encourage you to have mechs. So a lot of the times they say if you have a mech, do the ability for free. If you did it with an infantry, you have to kill that infantry to do the ability.
Gotcha.
Well, again, they're already wanting to do it with mechs, so they have already they should be able to negate that problem.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's put them up here then. All right. These guys.
Necrovirus. We can just move them to S. They're already S faction.
Necrovirus. They're so dope.
They're by far my favorite faction.
All right. Galactic Threat. You cannot vote on agendas. Once per agenda phase, after an agenda is revealed, you may predict aloud the outcome of that agenda. If your prediction is correct, gain one technology that's owned by a player who voted how you predicted. Technological sync. So first of all, Galactic Threat, like, it's so gross. So therefore, because these guys are like the ultimate threat, right?
Right. I think in the base game, they were the ultimate threat.
So these guys, the person who played them, I remember this specifically, they were in the game where I was playing the flight. And he always looked to me to what I was going to vote for. And it made me have to decide, fuck, I really want this? He's like, oh, okay, so then it's gonna pass. So then I had to decide if I wanted it to pass or not.
Right.
It's like, man, do I give you a free tech? And then they have technological singularity. Once per combat, after one of your opponent's unit is destroyed, you may gain one technology that's owned by that player.
Such a fun ability. Absolutely the best.
Right. And then propagation, you cannot research technology. When you would research, you gain 3 command tokens instead.
Again, glorious.
Their flagship, the Alaster. At the start of a space combat, choose any number of your ground forces in this system to participate in that combat as if they were ships.
Right. Which now includes mechs.
Which does now include mechs. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So, I can't remember. Do they start with? They start with some tech.
Yeah, they start with a green tech, and then there are 2 special techs.
Yeah, populate. Error. I wonder if this actually says something in binary.
I've never checked.
I might look it up while you talk about why they're great.
So they're great because of the fact that they are probably the most diverse options that you have. So number one, you want to negotiate heavy, you buy your techs from people. Say like, hey, yeah, the little destroyer there, I'll give you 3 trade goods right now for me to go kill it. I want that tech that you have, I'll pay you for that ship and go kill it. Or you can be the super aggressive. It's like, I'm just going to go kill that ship. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no response that you have to it. I'm going to take a tech that I want. And so, to me, depending on who you're playing with, who you are, you can play it almost any possible way you like this one. So there are some factions that have amazing faction techs. Well, you get to take 2 of someone else's faction techs. Every single game, you get 2 of them. Because as long as you fight and win a fight, you don't even have to win a fight. As long as you destroy a ship. And that's the great part, is you can go in on a suicide mission with the idea that I'm just going to kill 1 fighter. Like, I know I'm going to lose this fight, but I'm going to kill a fighter. I kill a fighter, I get a tech. And then the even more fun about it is, if you know you're going to win the fight, you can go to a ground combat, which is considered a separate combat, and go take another tech by killing their infantry.
Now, can you take personal faction techs?
You can take up to 2. So that's what the XY of their beginning techs.
Okay.
Yeah. So they basically get little tokens. They put their token onto that person's technology. That's their faction tech, and that's the only way you can steal it, because you're assimilating their faction to you. So Sardek Norr get the best destroyers in the game. They're the explosive destroyers that can go ram into other ships to blow up other ships. you can go steal that. And you can make your destroyers that. Mua gets Warsun 2, their special Warsun 2. You can go steal their special Warsun 2s. Nalu get their fighters. You go steal their fighters. So just all over the place, fun mechanics that you can play with them.
Okay, I don't think this says anything.
Okay. That
Um,
is a missed opportunity by Fantasy Flight.
it really is. Let me try the first line. No, I unless it's, let me try that. Probably not. No, it's not translating to anything.
Watch, someone will see this, and next printing of it actually they'll change that to.
They
include
should,
something in
like
it.
that. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Because it's the easiest thing to do. If they just do an English thing and then translate it to binary.
Right.
Like, I just do the opposite of what I was doing if they wanted them to say something. But anyway, yeah. So this faction, when I played against them, because techs are so important, the Galactic Threat ended up actually becoming a hindrance. Not a hindrance on them, but basically in every political thing, it was like yeah, he would gain a free technology, but it's like the benefit that I was getting from voting for it was better, or it was better for me, or something.
Right.
And then, or it could be the opposite, where it's like none of us. It's like, because sometimes you have votes that come in and no one really cares.
Right.
So then he has to choose it now. I guess he doesn't. He can always abstain.
Because he only gets it one time for both votes. So unless both votes are nothing. So way I normally play it is I play it if I don't want something to happen. Let's say like you're going to gain 5 trade goods if this vote goes through. Whatever. I don't want that to happen. So I play it on that to make sure if you do, I at least got a tech out of it.
True.
And I encourage the rest of the table not to do that because I'll pick the best of whoever voted for that situation to happen, that tech.
Oh, that's right. They have to vote. Yeah, it's for based off everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it really starts discouraging other players from like, yes, you really want this. You're trying to encourage everyone, but now, do I really want Necro to get Assault Cannon from Joel Norr because they voted with you?
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing that could also be disgusting about them. Let me double check just to make sure. So, if no one goes tech, which I have had games where no one cares about tech, you're playing a faction that doesn't have an ability besides their propagation, which is still good. That's still really good. You can take the technology and just get command tokens, which is really, really good. But people could just be heavily reliant on their abilities and be like, you know what, we're fine. Let's just do we're all bare bones. And we're actually better than you, considering that you're no longer getting tech. I mean, he will, considering the fact he can take.
I mean, realistically,
everyone's starting tech.
Yeah, so you can take everyone's starting tech, and then honestly, you take tech because at minimum you're getting 3 command tokens, which is no different than taking leadership.
Right.
So yes, so I've never been in a game where like nobody took tech ever in the game. Like tech is almost always one of the first 3 chosen every single time. So I've never played where that happened where nobody took tech. You could.
At least no one's going heavy in tech. No one's. If the Necro are in the game, I'd be very surprised if one person was going all in, on tech, because then now the Necro just target them.
Right. I mean, I've played Necro with Joel Norr, and honestly, they kind of become buddies, realistically.
Sure.
Because Necro basically becomes your guard dog for Jolnar, and Jolnar
Yeah.
feeds them tech.
That's
Because
true.
Jolnar has a tech ability that allows you, every time you get attacked, you get 4 trade goods. So basically, you get that tech, let Necro hit you, you get 4 trade goods, Necro gets another tech that they want, Necro now goes fights other people for
Yeah.
you, and you just pay them off with tax.
Which one do you think is better? Like Necro, or I know Necro, this one's your favorite, but which one's better about tech ramp?
I think Necro is because, one, they make everybody else question what tech they really want to get, and because of the encounter economy that you're getting if you don't get techs.
It is really gross considering the fact because you ignore prereqs. If someone,
Right.
I mean, fuck, if you are up against the these guys and they are
Yes.
going to increase their war sun, it's like great.
You
Now
can
I have
get a war
access
sun.
to a war sun.
And not just a weak war sun, the best war sun in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, I think they're better than Jolnar. They're more diversified than Jolnar are.
So we'd put them here. Are we thinking they're better than the flight?
So in my opinion, they are, just because of the command token economy plus the ability to steal tech. Because they're always a threat on the table. But the birds are good. The birds are pretty solid too.
Yeah. I think where these guys are a threat or negotiating power, like for fighting, the flight are that, but for the politics aspect.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know. I think games are more swayed because it's not a um last man standing kind of game. I think politics can outdo fighting. So I think probably politics is better just because I think you have more sway. Like this is kind of, hey, if you don't want me to attack you, then do this. The flight's like, hey, here's a really good law that'll benefit you.
Right.
That could just be the way I played. I played them against them because funny enough, the two we have at our highest were in a game I played,
game.
and
Right.
and everyone, like, I was able to keep them knocked down a few pegs on tech.
Right.
Whereas the flight, by that point, I had so much, even everyone together couldn't outdo me on one politics. I mean, because if I wasted all of it on one, then the second one comes in and they get a choice.
Right.
But I don't know. I will put them in S tier. I do agree. I think that basically the only deterrent I can think of is that's basically start of the game. Everyone has already decided against them, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah. So. I haven't played that many games where everybody's against Necro from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a little apprehensive, and then it takes a Necro player to basically make friends.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What do we got next? This one.
That one is Nomad, a new faction.
Nomad. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is called Nomad.
Yep.
Boom. They are new. Ooh, man, their planet looks super dope.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. During setup, take the two additional Nomad faction agents and place them next to your faction sheet. You have 3. Oh, so they have a bunch of new people.
Yes.
And then future sight. During the agenda phase, after an outcome you voted for or predicted is resolved, gain 1 trade good.
Right.
During agenda phase. Oh, okay. And
so basically, if you vote for something, you're going to get money.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. And then Memoria, you may treat this unit as if it were adjacent to systems that contain 1 or more of your mechs.
Right.
Okay.
But they actually are the only faction that can upgrade their flagship.
Oh, yes, they can. Interesting. Yep. Okay, let's see if I can find... Right there, Memoria 2. You may treat this unit as if it were okay. So same ability. What does it go to? It was
It goes
8526.
Yeah, and it's 713.
Okay, yep.
A pretty
So
decent boost.
that is a pretty good. I mean, just the capacity, movement, and then combat.
And what gets even grosser is, again, kind of going through it because it's new. Their commander, once you unlock it, allows you to build the flagship for free.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, but that's one-time use, right?
Nope. No, the
commanders
commander
aren't
is
one-time
a
use?
passive ability.
Really? Who's the?
Yes.
Is it the leader that is?
It's the hero.
Hero. That's what they were called.
Yep. Yep.
So
Your
they
heroes
just
are
have a
one time.
passive ability where this is now built for free.
Once you unlock them, but yep.
Ugh. Wow.
Yeah.
And
super.
actually, their anti-fighter barrage is better.
Right.
It's 5 times 3, and on this one it's 8 times 3.
Yeah.
So they just mow through fighters.
Right.
Huh.
I mean, they're all
Yeah.
in on that flagship, is what it is.
Yeah, you go all in on flagships, and then I mean your agents, they're passive abilities, aren't they?
They're one time per round.
Per round, that's right.
Yep.
See if I can find them.
It might have been those people faces on right there. So like
yeah, but it's just a stupid people.
yeah.
Know what they do.
Hmm.
Because that seems like that's their big thing.
Yeah.
Is
So one of them allows you to re-roll dice one time. So basically, after rolls are done on both sides, you make everybody re-roll again.
okay.
That's one of them. Another one is when you gain trade goods one time that round, you can put the same number of trade goods onto that card, and you'll get it at the start of the next round.
Oh, okay.
Try to remember what the third one did. It's less often that I used it. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
You start. Oh my God! You start with your flagship too,
Yes, you start with your flagship.
and sling relay. Dang.
Okay. Let's see. Trade goods. Oh, right. Okay. So the third agent is at the end of a player's turn, you can exhaust the card to move 2 ground forces from the board and move them to the active system that you just had.
Oh, okay.
So you can reinforce. And again, all of these agents work for anybody. So you can sell these agents to anybody.
Can you really?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not
Yes.
know you could trade agents.
Well, you basically, because a lot of them say like at the end of a player's turn. So it doesn't
Oh.
specify which player. You can choose a different player for it.
Interesting. Okay. I did not pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. Okay, so wow. They seem like they're a lot of fun.
They were, so I played them the last game I played. Huge
Okay.
amounts of fun. They start rolling in money because basically if you get trade, you can double your trade. Because at some point
true.
you're probably going to trade 4 commodities for, let's say, 4 commodities. Well, but realistically, then you put extra 4 onto your agent. So next round you get another 4. I know it's another, you have a wait a turn.
Yeah.
But that means you still got 8 basically between 2 rounds with the one trade.
That's true. That's true. And I like the fact of one, like, starting with your flagship, first of all.
Yep.
Eventually getting it for free. So you mow through fighters, so that's no longer a problem. And
If
it's
it dies,
treated,
it dies.
yeah, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, it even has sustained damage, so it's actually an absorber
Yeah.
for some of your other ships that you just kind of don't want to lose
Right.
right now. And then if you utilize your mechs, then your Nomad flagship is right next to it.
Right.
Huh. Interesting. And I like the fact that you have more agents than everyone.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
They are probably the most have the most tools.
Yeah.
That a lot of other people want, because you have the movement kind of like Ghost. It's like you have a weaker ability of everybody else.
It does seem like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Interesting. And if you upgrade your flagship, then it's just that much better, and it's free.
Right.
I'm kind of thinking. I kind of like him like right here. Maybe A.
I was going to say A, but
I
probably
think
on the back end of A.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. You think right here?
That are right in front of Barony, honestly.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think they're
I
better
think
than Barony.
if what you're saying is true, and you can utilize agents to help other people,
Yeah.
then yeah, you have a lot. I mean, you're still a threat, but you're just a threat really everywhere. They're
Right.
kind of like a jack of all trades.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think I'd
Yeah.
put them right there in A.
Okay.
All right.
That is SAR.
The clan of
2 A's. Yep.
Sweet. Oh yeah, like the rat people.
Yep. They're the people who don't care about losing their homeworld.
So let's see. Okay, so scavenge. After you gain control of a planet, gain 1 trade good. And nomadic. You can score objectives even if you do not control the planets in your home system. That's pretty funny.
Because their docks are floating, so they move with you. They are in space. They're not attached to planets.
If a unit is placed in a space area instead of on a planet, this unit can move and retreat as if it were a ship. If this unit is blockaded, it is destroyed. But you can just build them. Oh no, its production is sorry. I was looking. Its production value is 5.
Right. Right. So it's no different than building anybody else's space dock, but your space docks fly with your fleet.
Huh. Okay. So what happens if you lose your space dock?
Well, I mean, so you just need construction to build another space dock.
Yeah.
But so if you lose your fleet, you'll lose your space dock in essence. But if you also think about the fact, like, so if I go attack someone and win, I can immediately build because I brought my space dock with me. Because the list says production is your very last step.
Mm.
So you do
That's
ground
true.
combat. You get your 2 trade goods from a double world planet, right? So now you have 2 trade goods, and then you can immediately build whatever you lost with planets and trade goods that you have with the floating space dock.
That's true. That's very interesting. These guys wouldn't initially be like my first pick. Huh.
Oh, I mean, they are a lot of fun. So they're like before the expansion, it was where people call it the SAR ball because all it would be is these giant balls of ships just going from world to world, wiping things out.
That's fair.
Because again, you put like say 2 space docks out, you realistically always have 2 armies in those space docks.
That's true. I mean, because every time you take control of a planet, you get a trade good, and then utilize the planet you just took to
Build more ships or more people.
produce. Yeah.
And you just constantly do that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much them.
Yep. I don't remember what the flagship does. I don't think it was as strong.
It just has sustained damage
Yep.
and anti-fighter barrage 6 times 4. So
And it hits on 5. I mean, so it's not bad.
yeah.
But it's nothing magical.
Yeah, nothing here is really like super special. They do seem very one note.
Other than you can lose your homeworlds and still score. So taking their homeworld doesn't matter anymore, which is a lot of ways people try to prevent someone from winning is take their homeworld.
That's true.
They don't care.
Yeah, I guess in all the times I've played TI, I don't think I've probably lost my homeworld maybe once. I know I've taken other people's.
But that's because you had to defend your homeworld.
Yeah.
If you don't have to defend your homeworld anymore, think of all the resources you don't have to put there anymore.
That's true. Yeah, you just have everything that you start with, and you just start moving out.
Right.
You're like, yeah, well, that planet sucks.
Right.
I'd probably still put them probably here. No, sorry. Dang it. There we go. I'd probably still put them at C. I think I still think they're right in the middle. Like, nothing flashy about them, nothing amazing.
See, I
Yeah.
think I would put them at B because they can produce every single time they put a token down. Where most people have to put a token down just to build and nothing else.
Right, but I'm trying to think of just in terms of, I mean, because
that's really
Yeah,
their ability. Is that the ability
what the
that
the
they can?
scavenge?
Well, no, it's the floating space. The
Oh
floating
yeah,
factor is just really the ability. The fact that you
yeah.
can build every time you attack and move is kind of powerful.
It is, but I mean, we've talked about so many extremely powerful factions that could, I feel like that could just wipe these guys. And then it's like, yeah, you have a lot, but someone else could equally have a lot. And then it's like, okay, now I blockaded you, and now your main thing is gone, and you really don't have a lot of. It's because you take control of a planet, so that you have to actually win out
On ground force, yep.
on ground forces. If the space dock does have a capacity
Yeah.
of 4. I mean, which of course stack with the carriers and the dreadnoughts.
Right.
Nomadic could be pretty good if people ran to your home. I mean, they wouldn't though. That's the thing. It's like they don't have to worry about you getting kind of like what you said. Yeah, you have to defend your home world. That's how people stop you from winning. But because you're defending it, it's still a deterrent. You don't have that deterrent anymore, which is
Right.
good. It's relieving as a player.
Right.
But I don't know. They're just not wowing me. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what makes them any better than the Suns, the Empyrean, I already forgot the plants, and the was it Lizix?
Yeah, L1.
Yeah. Like these guys I see being more versatile and more disgusting than a rolling ball of. I mean, because that's still one unit. Especially because you're going to be protecting your space docks, right?
I mean, so it's going to be a fleet. It's just going to be an entire fleet.
Yeah.
So.
Still limited by the one movement.
Yep.
Whereas like these guys, if we were to bring them up into B, these guys have that same firepower, but it's not just one area. It's okay, I can actually split this up and be more of a threat. If we're talking about combat, which is what these guys very much focus on. I don't think they're bad. I think I'd put them above the exploring people and the pirates. But that's where I'd put them in C. If you were to put them in B, would you put them at the very tail end, or would you put them above these 4?
I personally put them above those 4. The very fact, I mean, I've just seen them win so many games with the fact that they can just outbuild everyone.
How are they? I still don't get how they're outbuilding everyone. Like,
so if you look at the order of operations, so you put a command token down, you move your ships, then you fight space combat, fight ground combat, and then you produce, right? So literally every time you move to somewhere, you have the option to produce. Everyone else, basically, you have to activate a system that you already controlled to produce, and it locks up those ships in that spot.
oh, I see what you're saying.
And so now, if let's say I lose a dreadnought in a fight, I can then instantly build that dreadnought so there's no weakness that I lost there. And it's already on the front lines.
So you're able to produce based off the order of operations. You don't have to activate the system again.
Right.
Gotcha. We'll compromise. I mean that is really good. I still think these 4 are just better, because even though you have I guess you do have a never-ending fleet, it's still one fleet in that entire map.
Well, except you're probably going to get more space docks because you have a total of 3 space docks.
True.
But yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like what we were saying about these guys with the War Sun. It's like, it's like if you put all your eggs in one basket like the War Sun, then that gets taken away. Then it's like, well, shit, now I have nothing.
Right.
You're probably going to keep a space dock around, but chances of you keeping all 3, probably not likely.
It's definitely limited, yeah.
Yeah. All right, these guys.
That is Sardek Norr.
Sarda. I was. Oh my god. Okay, you might have to explain these guys to me.
Okay, so they are
'Cause-
they're probably the easiest one to hand off to someone.
Yeah,
They get +1 on all their rolls.
unrelenting.
So that's their ability. Their downfall is they start with 0 techs.
Yeah. No,
So
flat, big old middle finger.
right. So they have a lot of building up to do, but at the same time, everything just hits well, right? So
Yeah,
your infantry
they're
hit on 7s, your fighters hit on 8s, your dreadnoughts hit on 4s, which again, so this faction, you actually kind of like, a lot of people like go heavy into dreadnoughts because it's your best bang for your buck in terms of just dice roll.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for the fact for these guys, because you get that +1, fighters now are really cheap and easy to produce, and they get 10% bonus to hits. So doing huge numbers is where they win, right? And that's kind of the idea. It's the Starship Trooper montage, right? It's thousands upon thousands of bugs are how you win. It's just mass numbers.
Sure. And then it looks like their flagship, Kimura and Norr, apply +1 to the result of each of your other ships. So that would give all your other ships +2.
Right. So again, just increasing all of that. So fighters, hit on 7s, which are cruisers, and you're paying $1. So I mean, realistically, you can produce 4 fighters for the cost of a cruiser with your flagship, and they hit the same amount.
That's true. I mean, granted,
So
you have to carry your fighters, but
you have to carry them. So
but still.
right.
Exo Trireme is the dreadnought.
Yep.
Bombardment 4 × 2. Does that +1 apply to bombardment as well?
It does not.
Okay, I didn't think so. I mean, but yeah, your carriers hit on 7s, your dreadnoughts hit on 3s, your War Suns, if you built them, would hit on. I mean, this is if you had your flagship, I guess. So
they just hit. Your
yeah,
War Suns just hit.
Yeah, because it's 3, right? So if it's in your flagship and you're unrelenting, it just you couldn't fail.
It just hit. Yep.
So they sound horrible. Like I mean, especially when. Go ahead.
I said they start off so weak in like tech, and so you have no speed anywhere, right? Everything has basically movement 1. You don't even start with that much great ships.
No, I was just looking at that. Yeah, carriers, cruisers, and 5 infantry.
Right, and so only 1 cruiser or 1 carrier, so you can only take 1 planet or 1 system.
Yeah.
Turn 1. So to me, that's their downfall is it just like you're spending your first 2 turns just actually building up to where everybody else just starts.
Yeah. Yeah, in a game where kicking off is so important.
Right.
And you're just sitting back. I mean, we've talked about a few factions that kind of will benefit from sitting back a little bit, but that's because they're already kind of so powerful that they're planning to get more.
Right, or they have a way to just where this is a linear growth, they have exponential growth, those other ones. Like the plants have exponential growth.
Right.
Yeah, they start slow, but you double every time. So yeah, I only have 2 this time. I have 4 next time, and 8 after that, and 16 after that.
Right. Yeah. And oh man, I don't know. Like,
to me, they're D.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Their start is their crushing point.
Yeah. I remember looking at them because I was gonna play them, and I was like, oh, no thanks.
Right.
Especially just when we're talking about pure combat, we've talked about like 6 others that
right.
Just a +1 by itself. It's like, yeah, okay. if the Sardak could get the army,
Yep.
then they're nasty. But at that same time, they're going to be fighting against other people who also have the army.
Right.
Like, this is one where it's like, I mean, against the not the Nomads, the whatever the fuck these guys were called.
Oh, the SAR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, now, these guys would be good against them.
Right.
They come in with their swarm and just wipe them out. It's
Right.
like, produce that, bitch. You don't have
Right.
anything. But I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably stick them at D.
I'd probably stick them in D.
Okay. All right.
And everyone's favorite human faction, like every other human faction in the game, abhorrently normal.
You're right. Oh, yeah.
Good
the
at
Federation.
nothing. Masters of everything.
Federation of Soul. That's what they were called.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we got Brian.
Right.
Orbital drop. As an action, spend 1 token from your strategy pool to place 2 infantry from your reinforcements on 1 planet you control. And then versatile. When you gain command tokens during the status phase, gain 1 additional command token.
Right.
I mean, action efficiency and being able to turtle.
Right.
Like.
And they like blue tech, and they're good at blue tech.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, they are. It's like. Yeah, I mean, they're not like amazing, kind of like what you're saying. They're average. The problem that happens with them is, yeah, they have a lot of ground forces, but they need to now start building ships to move those ground forces out.
Right. Which they do have the advantage. So their starting carriers are 6 versus everybody else's 4.
True.
True. So you already can move more.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the idea is, yes, I'm going to basically solidify ground and kind of ignore air a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get their flagship out, which is at the end of the status phase, place 1 infantry from your reinforcements in the. I mean, and the one thing that we've kind of been forgetting just because we take it for granted is every unit is limited except for fighters and ground forces.
Right.
So they can very much become disgusting, like when you just have a stack of ground forces.
Right, and the very fact that your flagship carries 12, just think about that flagship that hits on 5s, rolls 2 dice, hits on 5s, and has 12 fighters on it.
Yeah.
It alone is just going to do damage.
Yeah. I mean, unless, of course, people bypass sustained damage and destroy your flagship and the 12 people that are on it.
Right.
But yes, like, if you win, because, like, it goes in the order. I mean, if you go to ground combat, they're taking the planet.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, unless I can't think of anything that's like, hey, no, you actually don't, but nah.
I mean,
so
they're humans in D&D. They're humans in most other games that have human as an option, where it's middle of the road. They're not great on anything, but they're kind of good at everything.
Yeah. That's true. I put them at C.
I put them at C.
I'd put them at high C, like probably there.
Yep.
I think. I mean, I like the pirates thematically better. Hell, I even like the explorers thematically better. But gameplay wise,
I mean, realistically, they should be right directly in between B and C. They're really the known between B and C. So high C is fine.
Yeah. All right.
That is Titans of Ool.
That's who I played last time.
Okay.
Yes. Tight. That's close enough, right? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. So we got Ultron. No, who does this look like? It doesn't look like Ultron. It looks like someone else.
No, it looks like the planet destroyer from Thor 1.
Yeah.
It just needs to be shooting that ray out of the face instead of the hand for it.
Yeah, if only that's what one of their abilities was. Okay, so these guys, their PDSs are disgusting.
Yes.
So they have Terra Genesis. After you explore a planet that does not have a sleeper token, you may place or move 1 sleeper token onto that planet. Awaken, after you activate a system that contains one or more of your sleeper tokens, you may replace each of those tokens with one PDS from your reinforcements, and their PDSs count as a structure and a ground force. And so it has sustained damage, production 1, planetary shield, and space cannon with a combat 7.
Right.
And then Coalescence, if your flagship or your Awakened faction ability places your units into the same space area or onto the same planet as another player's units, your units must participate in combat during the space combat.
Right.
They're just heavy on PDSs.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. I think those PDSs, just with all those abilities and be considered a ground force, and a structure.
Right.
It's like, I will say that actually, I do remember that becoming a problem because they're equally as strong as they can be weak, because some things target structures, some things target specifically ground forces. Now they're hit by both of those abilities.
Right.
Whereas some things, to kill all ground forces on the planet, it's like, well, that includes their PDSs.
Right.
What's their flagship? The Oranos. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but the PDSs are also factories. You can build with them too.
Yeah.
Which is just also just nasty.
Yeah. I mean, you can only build one unit?
Right.
Yeah, production 1, but still, it's just like, oh, okay, here's my flagship, or here's my dreadnought, whatever. Or hell, here's my space dock.
Right.
Deploy. After you activate a system that contains one or more of your PDSs, you may replace one of those PDSs with this unit. So just being able to pop in your flag, like they're a stronger, potentially might be just as fast, maybe not as fast as the plants.
Yeah. So they're different than the plants because they can't move those PDSs, but you're going to be able to make a PDS network that rivals anybody else's PDS network in the game.
Exactly. I mean, and if we're talking about area control, PDSs, not only do they protect from bombardment, they also shoot up with a pretty decent chance to hit.
Right.
They absorb damage, so actually now your ground combat has sustained damage, with which nothing really does.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, their abilities kind of focus they're very one note in the fact that their PDSs are there, but they're really strong. If they could be transported, it would be even more disgusting.
Right, and that, I think, is where they realized they would be too strong if they could be transported. But then the real secret weapon, in my opinion, is that Saturn Engine 1, which is their cruisers. Because their cruisers now start with capacity 1 as well.
That's true. Yep.
And then they can be upgraded to movement 3 with capacity 2 and sustained damage. I mean, you're talking about a cost 2 with basically the same hit as a dreadnought with sustained damage on it.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever I played them, I don't think I ever built dreadnoughts. Why would I?
Why would you? There's no reason to it.
You run out of cruisers in your pool, then you're like, okay, I guess I'll build a dreadnought.
But the only reason you're building dreadnoughts is to protect key locations, not to go out and do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and then you hold down like high value planets.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing stopping you from having multiple PDSs on a planet.
2. Max of 2. But yeah.
Max of 2.
Yep.
And then the fact that you can just, I mean, when you explore a planet, you can just pop a sleeper token on it. You don't even have to, and then you just pick up your units and then you move them off.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to activate this area and then pop a PDS there.
Whether it's your planet or not.
I really value this faction. I love like the turtling kind of defensive, only aggressive when you really need to be. And that is like this faction to a T.
Oh yeah, it's a turtle faction.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh no, I'm just gonna control these planets. Ha ha!
Right.
Here's my army. I would put them. I don't think they're S tier.
No.
I'd put them probably here.
Okay. I'd probably put them a little bit farther back because I don't think turtling wins you games. And I don't know that they have a strong enough offense.
Yeah. I did win with them though. Because that's the thing, it's like you're based around the objectives. That's what makes this game so great.
Right.
So it's like it's I guess it does depend on what the objectives are.
Right. I mean, like if you get a structure objective, yeah, you've won that structure objective.
Sure.
But most people's slices aren't going to have all the control pieces that they need for a control objective. And so
Yeah.
you're going to have to go somewhere else to get that.
True.
And that's why like ghosts to me are just stronger because they can make those moves when needed to score those victories.
I think yeah, it would definitely be just different play styles.
Right.
Because it's like you could also make that same argument with the Titans because they've made basically a defensive wall. And they just hold power.
Right. So you're not going to lose your slice probably. Like realistically. But because you have to spend a fair amount of time to build those walls, it means you're not going out and doing stuff outside of your slice. So if you need something from outside of your slice, you're giving up either building that wall or you're not scoring that objective.
True. Yeah.
But I mean, I do think they're A class. I mean, so
yeah.
really at this point, it's just semantics of where in A class are they.
True. We're kind of putting them here and here next to the ghosts.
Right.
All right, make me feel better. I'll put them above the ghosts. All right, this one.
Those are the Godzilla ones. Let me think about what they are called. Oh, they're the ones that like to eat people's ships.
Oh, how cool is it? The Bull Wraith Cabal? Oh, it is.
Yes, it is.
I actually, if I knew how to spell, they're actually down at the bottom.
They're the opposite of Necro.
They're the what?
Opposite of Necro. So they eat ships and then can produce those ships that they eat.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, devour, capture your opponent's non-structure units that are destroyed during combat. Amalgamation, when you produce a unit, you may return one captured unit of that type to produce that unit without spending resources. And Rift Meld, when you research a unit, upgrade technology, you may return one captured unit of that type to ignore all that technology's prerequisites. Ew.
Yep.
Ew.
And also, so one of their special abilities is Dimensional Terror, which is their factories.
Yeah.
So their factories count as black holes, but not to you.
Oh, wow.
So you get the +1 movement whenever you move out, as if it was a black hole. And then if anybody comes into it without destroying that space dock, they could be eaten up by the black hole.
Wow. Place a Dimensional Terror token beneath this unit as a reminder. Up to 6 fighters in the system do not count against your ship's capacity.
Yes.
Dang.
Yes.
So those specific units, so you could just have a massive army in that specific spot.
Right.
Wow. And then what the hell is their flagship, the Terror Between? Capture all other non-structure units that are destroyed in this unit's system, including your own.
Right.
So they just have a never-ending fleet of.
Yes.
So it's just their shit's not going anywhere.
Yeah, because you're never not going to use ships you captured to build your fleet. So realistically, all of your money goes to command tokens on leadership. And you build with what you capture.
Dang.
Yep. Huge amounts of fun with these guys. I mean, again, I like Necro a little bit better because I rather have command tokens be more just known that I'm going to get them. But these guys are the next in line. I mean, they do very similar things to Necro.
They do kind of, but yeah, for the production value.
Right. It's production.
My personal playstyle, I would put them above Necro because they are also hurting other people while benefiting from it. So it's like, I destroy your dreadnought, now that's mine.
Right.
And I'm going to use this dreadnought to build a dreadnought for free.
Right.
The Necro is very kind of almost behind the scenes a little bit, where it's like, I'm just gonna, get the same technology that you have.
Right.
You still have it, but I also now have it.
Right.
And they ramp from there.
Right.
I would definitely say these guys are S tier. Like,
I like them a lot.
it's like, who gives a fuck about, this guy's fleet or this guy's fleet when you can just eat, or these guys' fleets when you can just eat them and then also equally outbuild them.
Right.
And also become a pain in the ass with your space docks.
Right. Right. I mean, you got extra movement, which is what we're saying, like why Ghost is good from your space docks. Like, I've seen it actually where someone had set it up. If you do it in the right order, you can go back and forth with almost unlimited number of times from your starting homeworld to Mechatol Rex. Because
if you put your space docks in a row.
Because they each get +1 movement whenever you go through them.
Wow.
And so you can just like literally just go back and forth transporting infantry.
So you just slingshot across the... Yeah, dude, that's hard. That's hard to beat. I mean, I'm trying to, because with every one of these that we've ranked high, we've tried to figure out if there's a way to knock them down a peg.
So their biggest knockdown is at the beginning. You have to have a fleet that can. You have to have ships that can go destroy the enemy to eat them.
I mean, but they start with a pretty solid, like.
Yep. They do.
So it's not going to be super hard. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not like your ships have to destroy their ships. You could just have a really good action card.
Right.
That's just boom, destroy, an enemy unit, and then it's just like, okay, great, thank you. I mean, if you destroy the War Sun, that's a free War Sun.
Well, but you only get eat it while it's in combat.
No, I know, but like if you're in combat and you're playing action cards.
Oh yeah,
combat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I've eaten people's War Suns before. Now you can't just instantly produce that War Sun. You have to use that War Sun to basically get the tech for War Sun. But you can just do it. Spend that War Sun for the tech of War Sun.
Yeah.
And then if you can eat a second War Sun, you can create it for free. Or because you don't care about money at this point, you can build War Suns.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to spend money like everyone else is.
Because it says capture, so do you hold on to that unit?
Yes.
So you limit what other people can build.
Right.
Yeah. That alone, I would say they're above Necro. I know Necro's your favorite, so we'll put them here.
Yeah. They're very good.
Because also, obviously they aren't as technology heavy, but the fact that they can still get free techs while also being like, no, you don't get to build any more dreadnoughts. I've eaten all of them.
Right.
Well, can you build them? No.
Right. And again, you can sell them back. So one of the things about capturing units in the new part of the rulebook is they are tradable objects.
Oh, really?
So you can trade them back to people if you wish.
Yeah.
At a price.
All right, you want to be like, yeah, you can just hinder so many factions.
Right.
With them. Yeah, that's pretty gross. Man, I'm almost tempted to fucking put them up there. I think they're that powerful, but we'll put them second tier. All right, 4 more.
That's Winu.
Okay. These guys are hot.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Blood Ties. You do not have to spend influence to remove the Custodian token from Mechatol Rex. Oh.
Yep.
That's pretty good. Reclamation. After you resolve a tactical action during which you gain control of Mechatol Rex, you may place 1 PDS and 1 space dock from your reinforcements on Mechatol Rex. Okay. Well, let me read their flagship. When this unit makes a combat roll, it rolls a number of dice equal to the number of your opponent's non-fighter ships in the system. That's really good.
Yeah.
I like their flagship. Here's the thing: the Winu sound really good in theory to
They're
me,
not. Yeah.
but yeah, I was like,
So again, if we redid this, actually looking at like agents and stuff, it did fix a lot of their problems. But like just looking at these abilities, they're too weak. They're not good enough in
exactly,
anything.
yeah, and specifically, we're not looking at agents because it'd be
Right.
another 2 hours of a video
Right.
to talk about everything that an agent can bring.
Right.
But that's why, but it's one of the other reasons why you're is because you're going to know more of that than I will. So when we go to rank them, but based off this alone, the Blood Ties is really good because, I mean, obviously that's a hindrance. So if people go into Mechatol Rex, they don't have that anymore.
Right.
So they can go there and be like, we're just going to take it.
Right.
That's good. But once again, it's kind of one of those, well, if someone does have the influence and they beat you there, you no longer have an ability.
Right.
And then
And
reclamation.
so one of the things they did fix is. Oh,
go for it. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so one of the things they did fix is the commander is when you do a battle in Mechatol Rex or take Mechatol Rex, from then on you get +2 for all combat rolls on Mechatol Rex, on your home world, or on legendary worlds.
Oh, wow.
And so,
Okay.
because again, they really do kind of want to just rush for Mechatol because it's free to take.
Yeah.
Versus everybody else that's 6 influence. But then that normally means you stretch yourself too thin. But if you give them always +2 on all fights on Mechatol Rex, well, you can kind of hold Mechatol
You can
Rex
hold
with
it
a
for a
small
while.
army.
And I mean, that's where the reclamation comes in. If you resolve a tactical action, then now you just get another PDS and a space dock. So then you can start building on Mechatol Rex.
Right.
I can see them being really good if you're able to rush Mechatol Rex. And then, like you said, with commanders and stuff, you can hold it a little bit. Because then now the 8 strategy card is viable for you.
Right.
Like, they do very much seem like one of those. They're gonna, if played well, they could get out to an early point lead, but then I feel like they come to a grinding halt.
They can, yeah, they definitely can,
Or it's like
especially with just these abilities.
Yeah, if they can't take back Mechatol Rex, then they got nothing.
Right. They got nothing.
Maybe if they're doing really well and other people are doing all their other shit, then they can get to a pretty high point lead that now they just have to capitalize off of objectives, and it could be too much of a lead. But that's a lot of ifs. And that's that's like the biggest ifs we've given any faction.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, with those abilities, yeah, they're F.
Yeah, with these alone, but yeah, I guess if we're not really taking, I mean, we've talked about some people's agents and heroes and stuff, but I don't think it's ever really been a factor.
No.
Yeah, I'd probably put them at the bottom. All right.
Those are the turtles, which are.
Can't remember their name.
The Extra Kingdom, so 2 X's CHA.
I think these guys got reworked in the 4th edition.
Yeah.
They got reworked because politics got reworked.
Right.
So
they are the politics faction.
Yes. Besides the flight, they're like the hard counter to them. I really like this faction. I think they're just. I don't think they're just as good as the flight, but they're pretty high up there. So, peace accords. After you resolve the primary or secondary ability of the diplomacy strategy card, you may gain control of one planet other than Mechatol Rex that does not contain any units and is in a system that's adjacent to a planet you control. That's just huge. I mean, just for sheer. I mean, actually, that ability might be even better than the flight, considering the fact that over time they're just going to have more resources and more
influence. Yeah.
Influence. Thank you. And then Quash, when an agenda is revealed, you may spend 1 token from your strategy pool to discard that agenda and reveal 1 from the top of the deck. Players vote on that. Man, that ability sucks.
Right. I mean, if you don't like something, if you know for a fact that a vote is going to really go against you when you see it, you just get rid of it. It's
Can
gone.
you keep doing that?
Yes, as long as you have the
Yeah.
token for it.
Yeah. I always thought it said once per turn. It does not.
Nope. Now, again, because you're taking from strat, I mean, those are command tokens, so command tokens are fairly, resource heavy to get. You're not using this willy-nilly. This is
True.
You need to burn something hard.
Yeah. The guy who played this was whenever I was playing the flight and we had the Necra. He was the thorn in both of our sides.
Oh,
Because
really?
he would basically, if I was allying with the virus, like for something that I wanted, and he's like, okay, great, and then he would just be like, nope,
Yeah.
and then take it, and something would come out that sucked.
Right.
And then it's like, well, great, okay. What's their flagship? You may use this unit's space cannon against ships that are in adjacent systems.
Right.
That's nasty too.
It's a floating TDS.
It is, yeah, you're right.
Except
for
I think it
adjacent
gets
systems,
what,
you don't
3?
even have to. It hits on a 5x3.
Right.
With no retaliation. Like, 'cause people
Right.
can't fight back.
And you can do it on other players' turns. It doesn't even have to be your turn.
That's true.
So
Ew.
yes.
Oh,
you
that's
park
right.
it.
'Cause, yeah, people were coming by.
Right.
They're
You
just
park
like,
it
nope,
next to
nope.
Yeah, you park it next to Mechatol Rex, and then whoever wants to take Mechatol Rex, you can just shoot at them.
You either stop them or you weaken them.
Yep.
I know this guy has a nasty hero ability.
Yeah.
But I cannot think of it. I just remember it being there, and I'm like, I hate, because like when you have two politics factions and one's like all the power, and then the other one is like the yay or
Right.
nay person the entire time.
Right.
It's rough.
So their commander is they double the number of votes they get.
That's right.
Their hero lets them look at 3 or 5 agendas. I think it's you look at 5, you pick 3, and you resolve them however you like.
Yeah. God, it's just so nasty.
Right.
I think they're S tier. I mean, yeah, they're not as they're not as war heavy. I mean, because the flight did have the abilities of combat as well.
Right.
And they don't inherently. But again, I just think I put a lot of value into the politics in this game, and that's one of the reasons why I love TI is because it does have politics.
It does have politics.
Like no other 4X game has really anything like it.
Right.
So just the sheer amount of, I'm going to get diplomacy, and now I'm just going to start taking planets, which then allow you to produce and have the army.
Right, which allows more. For me, personally, I think they're B because they don't have enough offensive capability. I don't put as much emphasis into votings because to me that's the one spot. Like you talk about the dice, I think the votes are so random because of just what you have a stack of like 150 cards, and you're pulling only 2 per turn.
Yeah.
And so that's where, for me, it's just random enough.
But 2 per turn is I mean, in a game that's on average 6 hours, I mean, that comes around quite a bit. And they're I mean, yeah, they are swingy, but you have control. I mean, you have control
No,
depending on.
You have control once it's there. It's which ones are going to pop up. Because you're going to see probably 12 of them, realistically.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, because they're also politics faction, how come we have the Argent so high up?
But the Argent have attack abilities. So like their destroyers have capacity plus do better on anti-fire barrage already.
Yeah.
They get 6 extra votes immediately just as their ability versus, because we're not talking about commanders. And so the Argent Flight have this advantage of I can build really powerful, cheap armies and have abilities of going into the votes. Where the Turtles are, I'm basically just going on the fact of the agenda phase, and that's it. Ignoring combat phases.
Well, yeah, especially in the early game.
Right.
I mean, but then they just, so they're going off of that, but then all of a sudden they have an army out of nowhere. Because now they just have all this, they own so much. I guess they would have to.
But they have to be able to keep it too, because just because you have the planet doesn't mean you actually will control the planet.
True. But you use it for while you have it, just because you can
Right.
just take. I mean, what do they start with? They start with a carrier, 2 cruisers, 3 fighters, 4 infantry. So a lot of things that have.
But like in a 6-player game, you have to then hope that diplomacy gets taken for the use of the ability. Because if
True.
diplomacy doesn't get taken, you don't get your peace accords ever.
Yeah.
And so if like you have to take diplomacy, then you have to try and get the best benefit of diplomacy to get peace accords. Which is, I mean, you're definitely getting better than anybody else taking diplomacy.
Yeah.
And again, not looking at commanders, you're not that much better at votes than anyone else is, other than you can just quash something.
Well, with peace accords, you're inherently better because you get planets for free.
Right. Early, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but even then, it's like, yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think it's just because I put so much stock into politics because it's my favorite part of the game.
Right. And I mean, I get that. Like, I do enjoy the politics. Like, I enjoy the politics more than a lot of people that I play with enjoy it. Because to me, it's like, yeah, but you're creating brand new rules for the game that are going to be different every single game. And that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and like with the flight, they actually have some mitigation over what's coming out, and the flight just has to go with it. Hey, I have a lot of votes for this really shitty thing, you know. And they have, because like whenever you have people who, oh, I want to be the elected person, I want to be the elected person, and if they are gonna be, outvoted, if they, let's say they have a lot, but even everyone bands together to make it someone else, they could be like, you know what, actually, we're just not gonna vote for this anymore.
Right.
So I would put them at S, but that's my personal play style. You'd put them at B, so let's put them in A somewhere.
Okay.
You want to put them right in the middle of A?
Sure.
All right, there we go. that still feels good.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
they wouldn't have been high S. I'd probably put them in the back.
Right.
But there we go. Right in the middle. All right.
And then it's Yin Brotherhood.
Oh yeah. Okay. God, these guys are so hot. Like those snake people.
Right.
Okay. Oh, are they the nukes? Oh, they're the cult.
They're with the nuke ship, with their flagships.
With the nuke ship, yeah. So indoctrination, at the start of a ground combat, you may spend 2 influence to replace one of your opponent's participating infantry with one of your own. Right. Love it. I just love the theme.
Yep.
And then devotion. After each space battle round, you may destroy one of your cruisers or destroyers to produce 1 hit and assign it to one of your opponent's ships.
Right.
That's pretty good. This is definitely not my play style.
It is not my play style.
I mean, the indoctrination is pretty good. I mean, you spend 2 influence. That's going to be pretty much every planet.
Right.
Almost to. I mean, that could inherently just win you the combat.
Right.
Giving you 1 more strength. So that one's good. The devotion part, I don't like losing stuff.
Right, and that kind of goes with, because we can read the flagship. I agree, it's the same with the flagship. It's when the flagship gets destroyed, it destroys everything in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds great, but then when you really think about it, it's like, okay, I've activated that system now.
Mm-hmm.
I've flown in, blown everything up, but I can't go take that planet still because I've activated it.
True. I mean, yeah.
It is great if I can, to protect my homeworld, because somebody comes in and blows it up. But then I have to hope that someone else doesn't, like, it wasn't 2 people teaming up on me to take my homeworld because I'm going to win. And so the first person comes in, blows up my flagship, and the second person comes in and takes my homeworld.
through the debris.
Right.
I would probably utilize this flagship a little bit different. It's definitely the perfect hard counter for some of the other factions we've been talking about. The Ball, the High Dreadnought, the War Sun people. It's just like, this flagship is with nothing else. You know, it
Yes.
is a solo
It's a suicide
kamikaze.
bomber. That's
It's a
all it
suicide
is.
bomber. Yeah. And it's disgusting because it's like you have to do one combat round.
Right.
Like so if you fly in against the big ball of the person who produces in one area, they have to roll like
Right.
for it. So they might get lucky and miss and be like, okay, we're retreating.
Right. They
But
haven't missed every shot because again, sustained damage is a choice. You don't have to use sustained damage and
oh,
just
is
blow.
it?
Yes, it's
Dang.
100% a choice.
So yeah, so they hit once and you're like, oh no, my weak spot.
Right.
And then you just blow it up and just wipe it. And that could be huge.
Right.
Because it's like that's a lot of money and time and all that you spent to move that massive army. It's like,
Right.
oh, all
Oh
right.
no, I've used it for that. I
Yeah,
just don't think that helps me win games as often as it just disrupts another player.
sure. No, I definitely agree with you there. Um,
And so
it's
what I feel like is I do it to the winning player, and then the second winning player wins the game. Right.
right.
Because I
Yeah,
can't do it twice.
that's true. That's true. I mean, I could see it being used advantageously if you're like, I really need to just control this one planet and that'll get me the winning. You send
Right.
that, if you happen to have warfare, then you
Right.
send it in, blow it up, and then you can go in and take it. But yeah, like, and that's the thing is we're talking about this flagship as their sole best thing because these things aren't super great.
Right.
Like, I like the fact that devotion allows you to. I mean, you destroy a cruiser and a destroyer. They're cheap as hell,
Right.
and you get to assign the damage. That's really good.
Right.
I don't know. I just again like a lot of these games. Maybe it's just the group I play with. We combat a little bit more than Scythe. You know,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
we do not fight a whole lot, and it could just be because in a 6-player game, probably 2 out of them are very passive people, so they try to win
Right.
definitely through objectives, and so they're not picking the objectives that revolve around combat. Um, and then typically, some people are also learning brand new factions, so they might not
Sure.
have realized that this faction's super aggressive.
Right.
But uh, but yeah, so maybe that's why. But I just don't see them. I think they'd be super fun and they would be kind of annoying. You know, like Colts are. Colts start
Right.
out super fun, and then it's like, oh wait, they're killing everyone.
Right.
Huh. I
No,
would
for
probably
me,
put them at
yeah.
D.
Oh, I would put them in F.
You would put them in F. I think they're better than
Yeah,
these
they're
people.
better than Winnu, but I don't think they're much better than Winnu, honestly, personally.
I think that I mean because these were the +1, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I
I
would have +1 over their abilities.
no, at least they do more. Like at least they're more than just a static +1. Again, we're not talking about agents or heroes
Right.
that could sway maybe a ranking. I personally can think of more uses with the Yin Brotherhood than I can with the +1
Okay.
faction. Not saying that they're great; they're still D tier and they're at the bottom of D tier, but at the same time, at least this is just a net benefit. In
Right.
this, you have to lose shit to do it.
Right.
So, but at least they're not end all be all on the middle planet
Right.
that everyone is clearly going for. So that's kind of
Exactly.
my deterrent. But I definitely see where you're coming from. Oh, we'll put them there, and they'd be like a D minus. They'd be
Okay.
technically by like Missouri standards passing, but not really. All right, last faction,
Is the Asarl tribes.
Asarl.
Ysarl, so it's Yssaril.
They are. These are the okay. Yes, I was waiting for him. I was like, oh, where's Smeagol?
Yep. The Goblin tribe.
Yep. All right, last one. So yeah, the cool Goblin tribe. I gotta say, man, this design,
Yeah.
like the planets look so freaking cool.
Yep. All the time.
They really do. Like I was actually so whenever I was making the tier list for Cosmic Encounter, I was like, all these alien races look badass.
Right.
That like there's not one. You know how did you ever play Cutthroat Caverns?
No, I did not.
Okay, so Cutthroat Caverns had like different enemies that you could fight, and some art would be like high tier, amazing art, and then others would literally look like their designer's children drew it,
Really?
and it was so disjointed. And I was like, when looking through the Cosmic Encounter ones, I'm like, none of these, they all look from like from the same artist.
Right.
All right. Anyway, so they have stall tactics. Action, discard one action card from your hand. Scheming, when you draw one or more action cards, draw one additional action card, then choose and discard one action card from your hand. And crafty, you can have any number of action cards in your hand. Game effects cannot prevent you from using this ability.
Yep.
Okay. And then Yasrilla, the ship can move through systems that contain any player's ships. That I like.
Right.
Help me out here. Why
Okay.
would you ever discard an action? Is that a stall? Is that supposed to be
Yes.
like a stall ability? Okay.
So you're just stalling. So last turn of the round, everybody passes. Now you can go play with the game you want to play, and nobody can
Yeah.
stop you anymore.
Yep. Yeah,
And
you're
the
good.
fact that you
Okay.
can hold as many as you like,
That is very nice. What's the hand limit? I can't remember. 7?
it's 7.
Okay.
So it's not that uncommon for them by the end of the game to have 14 plus.
Yeah. They're holding the deck.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't get rid of any.
and because you draw 2 every single time and you discard from your entire hand,
Mhm.
so it's not just the 2 you drew. So if you drew 2 really powerful ones, you discard one of the weakest cards from your hand all the time. And so
That's
you
true.
always gain the premium cards.
Yeah. And action cards can make or break a
Right.
lot of things in this game. It's interesting because looking at this, I was like, I forgot about stall tactics. I forgot about actions that you can just do while you
Right.
wait for other people to do something.
Right.
And here it's just like, okay, I have 15 cards in my hand. Stall.
Right.
Stall. Stall. Oh, you've all passed? All right. Now it's
Yes.
time for me to put these 13 action cards to use.
Right. Or take the one planet that everyone knew you needed to take, but they couldn't stall you out. And so you have the time to go and take it
Mhm.
in the way you know you need to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on first glance, they don't seem that powerful, but this is one of those factions that if you know action cards really well and being able to not be stuck in the turn order by
Right.
being able to not even have to waste your command tokens to just kind of float around,
Right.
like you just get the benefit from everyone's secondary ability, you still have yours to use, and you can just have that primary on, on retainer.
Right.
Because I can't remember. Can people still use secondary abilities after they pass?
They can, but
Okay.
you still can't do anything. Like if you use
Right.
warfare secondary ability, you can't move that fleet anywhere.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean they're pretty basic, but I think game effects and action cards, kind of like how we were talking about, politic cards are really good.
yeah.
Action cards are still just as good.
Oh yeah.
If not sometimes better, because we've been talking about a lot of things of like, if a ship takes a damage, it takes another damage.
Right.
You can just have those. Reroll. Your ships deal +1 damage. You get a +1, and you just get all that type of control. And action cards can be part of trading, right? No, that's just with the
Just the
Hakan.
Hakon.
Yeah. Ew. If the Hakan and the Yasaril were in the same game, it's like
Oh yeah.
the Hakan are now a threat.
Right.
God, this game's so good.
It is such a good game.
I would probably put them. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking B, maybe
I'm thinking
C.
B as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking. I wasn't thinking C just because I know how powerful action cards can be and how powerful the stall tactic can be.
And that's the thing. If they can just kind of keep up with everybody, then they can win in the last round. And that's the way they win.
That's true. But they are still on. They still have to luck of the draw.
Right. They don't have any special ships, so they're still just even with everybody in fights.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing special about them in fights. Now their
Yeah.
flagship is kind of cool because again, once you can stall out with your flagship for a little while,
Mhm.
like your flagship can then go move around places because it has +2 movement, and
It
you're probably
does.
going to have grab drive. So realistically, it's going to have +3.
Yeah.
So
And
it
if you have,
goes and takes the one planet you need.
yeah, and if you stall out with warfare, then you can move it to 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of the cool part with it.
Hell, you could even, if you wanted to just gain a real planet that maybe someone has control of, I mean, it has a capacity 3, you can just fly across the map and then use your advantage of action cards to take a
Right.
planet from someone.
Right.
And then score, if
Right.
there's an objective, that's just like, haha.
Right.
I like these 5 better. I think
Yeah.
they're a lot of fun. So I'd probably put them low B.
Okay.
But yeah, what do you think? How are you feeling on that?
Yeah, I agree that to me they're low B. I do enjoy playing them, but they are one of those that I wouldn't ever give to a new player.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I think that you have to be, and the reason why is because you are weak on plastic. You don't start with a lot of plastic,
True.
and you have no benefits of plastic. And so,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to come and pick on you because they know you're good in the end game, then you have to take it, basically.
That's true. Yeah.
Where,
Yeah,
like,
that's a good
the
point.
birds, they don't have to take it. They start kind of strong already.
Yeah.
In plastic and
Out of
abilities.
everyone, I mean, these 4 S tier,
Yeah.
like, they're just so good. Yeah. Overall, so out of all 24, I'm actually very surprised that we only have 1 in F.
Right.
Like, I expected 2 or 3. Like, we have a few in D. These are, I mean, even the C, like, I could see an argument of bumping them up to B. And
Right.
hell, even the Ds, I could see an argument of bumping them up to C. And hell, F, you said the agents and all them make them better. So then
Right.
they're actually even taken out of F.
Right. And so if we were to go through this, I think realistically, if we looked at these more in depth, so like their faction technologies and their agents and stuff, I think that would change quite a few of these rankings a bit.
True.
Because I would agree, like Winu jump up quite a bit with their agents and their faction techs.
Right.
But if you're just looking at the player board themselves with nothing else, I would say they're definitely F.
Yeah.
Their abilities are weak compared to everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the point of this faction tier list, just because I knew it was going to be relatively long anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that is the definitive TI4 tier list. There is nothing wrong. So if you ever want to know what factions to play, you can just, if you're playing a 6-player game, take these 4 and then these 2. And then you'll have a destructive game.
You will have a violent game with those 6 in there.
That is so true.
Player
elimination is bound to happen. But at the end of the day, the great thing about TI is that even though these are all based off kind of our personal preference and what we think are strong and weak against them, the Hakan could be the best faction depending on who's playing them and who they're playing against. Most of these have hard counters against them or soft counters. Alliance, that's what makes TI4 so great.
Right. It's a great 4X game.
Yeah, easily the best.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what your favorite TI factions are in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.